Recording in progress.
Good morning, Chairperson. How are you?
Good morning, Jabu. Oh, I'm having challenges with my other laptop. I must sort it out back at Parliament.
Okay.
But at least I'm having an iPad, not to disappoint you guys.
Okay, noted, Chair.
Good morning, Chairperson. Good morning, colleagues. It's Nolutando, the Secretary of the Select Committee.
Hi,
Good morning.
Morning.
Oh, Notando Njani?
Ndiyaphila Nkosi, Jabu njani wena?
Ndiyaphila, man. Please assist me to log in your members, man.
Okay, all right.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Good morning, honorable members, everyone present. May I ask that those that is already logged on, kindly just put your name and surname. And if possible, those who would like to do so, the party or Honorable Joe Maglua, just for the references of the Portfolio Committee Secretary and for the minutes, purpose of the minutes. Morning, Honorable Fanny.
Morning, leadership. How are you?
I'm fine, thanks.
Yes, leadership. You're struggling with network.
Hi, Honorable Fanny. Stop talking about struggling with network. You've been telling the same story year in and year out. I thought you've upgraded that
Morning,
Tikitoli phone of yours.
Good morning, Honorable Daniels. How are you, my
Yeah,
leader?
I'm all right, my brother. I'm all right. Thank you. And
No,
good
at
morning,
least
Chairperson.
we elected a committee last night, so they promised that they're going to deal with this thing at Acacia Park. So I won't complain again.
Okay. Okay.
Let's not talk about the elections last night, Honorable Fanny.
I understand some are still healing on wounds. Yeah. Apologies, leadership.
Can the Portfolio Committee Secretary indicate as to whether we are quorum and can start?
Good morning, Chairperson. Good morning, members. Yes, Chair, we are a quorum. We can start with the meeting, Chair.
We're joined by Snoopy today, Chair.
By who?
Snoopy.
Hey, stop the dog, man.
Good morning, honorable members. Welcome to this meeting. Before I'm going to the official opening, I would like to ask members to have a look at the agenda. We will deal with the welcoming and opening, and then also deal with the follow-up on the engagements with the Department of COCTA, the consideration of I can see a report, I can't see properly, sorry, and closure. May we perhaps have any proposal and seconder that we can start?
Chairperson.
Yes, you may proceed. Is that Honorable Makato?
Yes, I adopt that we go with this report.
Thank you. Is there a seconder, Honorable Adrianse?
I second the proposal to adopt it and that we can start. Thank you, Honorable Chairperson.
Thank you. PC Secretary and members, is there any apologies that has been tendered?
Good morning, Chair, once again. Yes, Chair, we have an apology for Honorable Kate Bilangulu. She won't be able to join the meeting due to a bereavement. We also have an apology from Mr. Kobane. He is currently traveling. And we also have an apology from the Deputy Minister, Mabe. She is currently out of the country on official business in Cuba, Chair. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you so much. Honorable members, seeing that we are now registering the apologies, I would like to welcome each and everyone. I would like to welcome the department. I would like us also to take note of the fact that the DG will only be with us up until, I think, 9:45. So we will allow ample time for members and the department to respond to some of the questions. As we reconvene today to continue our critical discussions, may I just say that the Municipal Infrastructure Grant, when it comes to this, I would like to encourage all of us to remain focused, also to our shared values and our objectives pertaining to the challenges that we may have. During our previous meeting, we've laid the groundwork, so much so that we have received some input from members, and as a result, we are also going to do an oversight. The committee has already chose a particular province. So as a result, we will go and see for ourselves what is transpiring there. But I will invite members in the same breath, not only from since today, but ongoing throughout this year, please submit to this portfolio committee, even the select committee, and the other way around, to submit some of these facilities for us to do above our oversight role, to go and see for ourselves. I am also joined this morning again, honorable members, with Honorable Fanny as my co-pilot, and I would like to invite him also to chirp in and, whenever it's needed, as far as the co-chairing is concerned. I would like to also remind members that the agenda today will include then the Department of Corporate Governance, as well as again discussing the allocations. I'm also going to give the DG another 5 minutes, just a very, very high level of report, and then I think responded to the outstanding questions, and then I'm going to give members the opportunity to ask questions, those who did not have a chance. DG, we do not have to introduce each and everyone. You can just proceed and perhaps inform us that you are joined by the crew, who are they and their positions in their respective areas, and we will take it from there. Thank you so much. DG, you may proceed.
So apologies, Chair. Sorry for interrupting you. Chair, I forgot to send the apology of the minister. He's attending a World Summit in Dubai, so he won't be able to attend this meeting. Thank you, Chair.
That is noted. Thank you very much. Over to the Department of COCTA.
Good morning, Honorable Chair. Good morning to honorable members of the committee. Good morning to all the senior managers from government. Chairperson, last week we presented the program, the Municipal Infrastructure Grant program. We also presented we touched a little bit on the framework that is governing the grant. We talked about the ring-fenced component of the grant. You will recall that in the previous years, the grant was ring-fenced, I think at about 200 million rands, and we increased it by about 200 million rands as well in the last financial year. I'm not sure if the ring fencing is going to continue in this current financial year. I think there were questions about the ring fencing of the grant. I'm not sure if it's going to continue in this current financial year. My colleague, Werner Hendrik, is here as well, and he will be able to touch on that point. My view is that the ring fencing has to continue, because if it's not ring fenced, the component of sports, arts, and culture is likely to be used for other purposes other than what the ring-fenced allocation is meant for. So we will try and persuade National Treasury to continue with the ring fencing. But if we fail to convince National Treasury for the continuation of the ring fencing of the grant component, we will then have to opt for Schedule 6B. Schedule 6B would then mean that the grant will be converted from 5B, which is a direct grant, to 6B. We're not going to do it everywhere. We may want to split it into two components, and that is one part of the grant can remain 5B, which means it will be dispersed directly to the municipalities. And maybe the other component of the grant can be converted into Schedule 6B. I'm not sure if that window is still open of converting into 6B, because there are processes that we have to follow. 6B allows us to do with two things. One, it makes it possible for us to deal with concentration risks, because if you put all the money into one basket and channel it through 5B, it becomes extremely difficult for the department to intervene. But if we introduce 6B, it then makes it possible for the department to directly get involved in the appointment of the implementing agents. In other words, the Department of Sports, Arts and Culture can decide who's going to be an implementing agent in a municipality where there is no capacity to implement. You will recall that last week, there were questions that were raised about the capacity of municipalities to implement projects. The department has a responsibility. In this case, the implementing department is the Department of Sports, Arts and Culture. It has a responsibility to intervene, whether they intervene by converting a portion of the poor performing municipalities into Schedule 6B so that it gives them the flexibility to implement the projects directly themselves, or they deploy capacity to those municipalities that are not performing. There was a question that was raised about accountability, where projects are not performing. I think there were examples that were made about Northwest. I don't know whether it was the library or a project that is incomplete. The first level of accountability on Schedule 5B grant is the council itself. The councillors in the council must take full responsibility for the implementation of programs in their municipality. They need to hold the administrators in that municipality accountable for what is happening in that municipality. It will be extremely difficult to wait for provincial government or for national government to come in and hold municipal officials accountable for a project that is implemented in a municipality. So the first layer of accountability when it comes to program implementation is the council itself, that they need to watch and monitor what is happening within the council and hold the city manager and the administrators accountable for projects that are being implemented. The second layer of accountability, because in this country we adopted an intergovernmental relations program, approach. And the second layer of accountability is provincial governments. They have a responsibility to monitor and oversee what is happening in municipalities, the provincial COCTAs, the provincial departments of arts and culture. They have that responsibility. And the third layer of accountability is with the transferring officers themselves. In this case, it will be the National DG and of COCTA and the National DG of the Department of Sports, Arts and Culture. They have a responsibility to monitor what is happening in municipalities. And this is important, and I'm stating it because sometimes when things do go wrong in a municipality, we want to get the national government departments to account first when we have not executed lines of accountability or invoked lines of accountability at that level where the implementation is taking place. But all the three spheres of government have a responsibility to monitor what is happening in a municipality. I'm of the view that that component, I think there was a question as well about whether the budget is adequate. I don't know exactly the nature of the question, but I think that the budget, the sports component is not adequate. And sports in almost all the majority of municipalities, you'll notice that it's treated as by the way. There is no fully fledged Department of Sports, Arts and Culture in most municipalities. It gets managed as a component in the community services. Most municipalities will have a Department of Community Services, and Sports, Arts and Culture will be dealt with as by the way, and it doesn't get given the attention that it deserves. And yet sports, it does a lot of things to unite us as a country. I mean, we all celebrate when the Springbok is playing well. We all celebrate when Bafana is playing very well. And sports, arts and culture has a potential, to assist us to turn the economy of the country, because sports is serious business. The other day, the Minister of Sports and Culture shared the figures and the numbers, the impact that sports, arts and culture does on the economy of the country. So if we treat it and we give it the necessary attention that it deserves, then we will be able to give it more allocation like we did. I mean, I made that decision and I recommended to the former Minister Smelane, that we increase the sports, arts and culture component from 200 plus to almost 400. In 1 year, we almost doubled the allocation. And we're still not within the component that is required in terms of the formula. So there is still enough room to increase. The only challenge is that the fiscus is extremely under pressure. We all are, experiencing cuts, budget cuts, because the economy is not doing well. And if the economy is not doing well, the fiscus is also going to be under pressure, because you can't increase the budget when the economy is not performing very well. So that's the only challenge that we're faced with as a country. It's not only sports, arts, and culture that is feeling the pressure. I think all other programs are feeling the pressure. Municipal infrastructure in general is falling apart, and water and sanitation, electricity distribution network is also crumbling in municipalities. So there are pressures all around. So when municipalities are faced with those pressures on water, electricity, they will take money that is earmarked for sports and use it to deal with those pressures. And that's why we are motivating and we support the department that the allocation should remain ring-fenced, because if it's not ring-fenced, then sports, arts, and culture is not going to be prioritized. Chairperson, if I've left out some of the questions, I'm going to ask my colleague, Hendrik Werner, to deal with some of those questions. But with your guidance and your leadership, I'll hand back to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Honorable Tsangan. There's this advert some year that we find a friend, I think it's in Joshua Jaws. But listening to you since last week, I can really say that I would argue that the committee has found a friend in yourself. Listening to your inputs, and I want to say thank you for that guidance. I'm going to give members an opportunity now, particularly those members who did not have an opportunity to ask questions. And I'm going to give it in the following order. But allow me also, honorable members, to welcome Honorable Daniels, who is representing the Patriotical Alliance, who's also designated to this portfolio committee. The members who are going to have an input, but simultaneously so.
Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you. Simultaneously so, I will also give another bite to members that feel perhaps, if so, some questions are not being responded to, but give an indication to Honorable the DG Tsangan that particular concerns. Members then will ask questions in the following order: Honorable Nicola Du Plessis, Honorable Nkosi, if she is in this meeting, Honorable Liam Jacobs, Honorable Lutuli, Honorable Jean Adriaanse, Honorable Finis, Honorable Nkosi, and then I'm going to give an opportunity, if so, anything on his mind to ask Honorable Daniels. Honorable Nicola.
Thank you very much, Chair, and good morning to all the members of Parliament, NTOP, the officials, and I just want to thank the departments for their willingness to come do this again, and to the chairpersons for arranging this. This focus is incredibly important, not only for the unification of the country, but also when we are looking at our youth who are facing bullying, PTSD, and they need a space to do their sports in, and it does actually heal people emotionally. So the questions that I have are specific questions with regards to City of Johannesburg, and more specifically the community that I serve in. I have done oversight in a variety of the schools there. So the first point, and I know we've spoken about it, but just to emphasize the importance, the majority of the schools from Fred Norman, Innerdale Secondary, St. George Primary, Oakdale, Altmont High, Nansfield Primary School, Kliptown Primary School, Kliptown Secondary, and Apex Secondary have all mentioned the importance of having sports grounds in the area, which is why we did a bit of an in-depth oversight and questioning on why these sports grounds have not been built or maintained. So the first question there is, how much of the grant is for maintenance and how much of the grant is for building new sports grounds or swimming pools. And the list, which I will submit to both to the committee that I have received from the community as well as seen for myself, is Lens Swimming Pool in Extension 5, as well as the swimming pool in Extension 2. Then in another community is Ivory Park Swimming Pool, Rabi Ridge Swimming Pool, Eldorado Park Extension 8 Swimming Pool, Eldo's Extension 9 Swimming Pool, Eldo's Extension 4 Swimming Pool, Eldo Stadium, the soccer field in Extension 6, in Eldorado Park, in Enidale, there's the athletic stadium, then the Extension 9 sports complex, Patseng soccer ground, and then Enidale swimming pool. So the list is much longer than this. And the reason why I'm reading out the list is to emphasize how much of this funding has been misappropriated or seemingly misappropriated and not spent on what it should have been spent on. The DG did mention the responsibility of accountability, but in a metro where the municipal manager has been found guilty of maladministration, and with government being interdependent, what would the ministries do to ensure that these specific projects actually get run and the people who have not used the money appropriately are getting consequences to them? Then previously, a lot was mentioned about the local sports committees, but within Region G, every sports committee that I've spoken to mentioned the fact that the officials and the ward councillors intimidate them if they want to do anything in the community, and that is a massive concern. We also are at a point where our councillors in the city of Joburg are not allowed to do unannounced oversight on ComDev projects, especially within sports and swimming grounds as well. And what would the department do to address that? It is very concerning when oversight is not allowed in the community. Then I'd like to find out why the metros are not on the project lists. And then the last issue is quite often in the ComDev projects in Johannesburg specifically, and I want to speak about the communities that I've done oversight in, so I am focusing on Johannesburg within this. The hiring practices within ComDev projects are very politicized, especially, and I know this specifically within the Ivory Park swimming pool, that I think we broke ground in 2018, 2019, and the project has not been completed. And according to the vast majority of the community, they have to bring a party membership card in order to ensure that they get a job within the project. And how will we ensure that that does not happen in the future so that we can address the issues in lower LSM communities, because it really, really does impact the socioeconomic standing of our communities. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Honorable Du Plessis. Honorable Nkosi, if she's on the platform, I have noted hands such as Honorable Mtetwa, Honorable Letitia Aris, and then also Honorable Molatsana. That I will give them an opportunity after Honorable Molatsana, as I have given the list. Honorable Nkosi, if she's on the platform, please feel free and you are welcome. If not on the platform, Honorable Liam Jacobs.
Chair, I'm in the platform, but can you please pass to Jacobs? I want to connect to the iPad. This phone is troubling me.
Okay, my apologies, Honorable Nkosi. I saw that. I thought you left, but you're welcome to speak after Honorable Jacobs. Honorable Jacobs.
Honorable Chair, can you please pass to the next speaker as well? On my side, I just want to get to my car. I've just landed in Johannesburg. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Honorable Liam Jacobs. Honorable Adriaanse.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. I also want to welcome the presentations. It was really insightful, and the heartfelt, the heart that went into this, I really appreciate it. I agree that activities and sport facilities are very much needed, but I want to just sensitize us to the fact that our children not only need sport fields and tennis courts and stuff like that, because not everyone is a sports star. And although we want to believe that only rugby can unify, there's much to be said for theatres and creative arts that can unify communities. If we just think about music, and we must make sure that we also develop that in lower LSM and in our communities all over the place. And if I noticed with concern that there should be 3 years maintenance plans and everything. And as you know, the submission of the projects that's unfinished, not maintained, and is still continuing to be submitted. If we go to the Northwest, specifically Matlosana, JB Marks, there's been projects mentioned in the report we received that's been completed, and the only thing that's been completed in some instances has been a toilet. So the submission of reports to the different departments must be investigated. The councillors, as the previous speaker mentioned, are not always allowed. If they put complaints or reports in writing to the MM, it's simply ignored. Northwest is currently known as Hollywood because of all the actors in acting positions. So not a lot of permanent MMs are appointed. And this poses a real threat. And the line of reporting and making submissions of this is therefore hazardously disturbed. And that's why many a time the reports come directly to the DG's departments, etc. So what we need is proper project management. The supply chain management is in dire straits in many instances in Northwest with no proper overseeing process. And when you want to take them and ask them what's going on, you never get the reports back. Waiting for them 6 months is nothing new. And I just want to open my notes again because it closed on me. Sorry. And I think we must work towards a process where, in conjunction with SAGA, it will be possible for a capacitation process to be put in place for these underperforming municipalities and provinces, because blacklisting of companies is essential, but not only the companies, because most of these persons in the companies and entities have more than one company. And then we must include the individuals in the company, not only the company itself, so that the contractors who's bamboozling the departments will be blacklisted themselves. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Nkosi. I hope you will be ready now. Please unmute. Honorable William Jacobs, you may proceed.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. From my side, I want to start with something that's very critical and that's very close to my heart. But before I do so, I think it's manners to welcome the report, as we always say. Chairperson, I was born and raised in Kimberley in the Northern Cape. And I say this to say that I come from a particular school in that province, and the name of that school is Northern Cape High School. Now, one thing we must understand here is that infrastructure and anything that is related to the development of infrastructure is inherently interrelated. And when I say that it is inherently interrelated, I'm talking about the fact that a school that produced some of the best athletes across the entire Northern Cape now has flooded sports fields because it is next to a reservoir. So I think that we need to look at how interrelated these issues are that are facing our municipal projects, and we must address them urgently, which is why I'm actually calling on the department to ensure that an intervention is taken to ensure that this stops, because how much water is being leaked into the school where it's knee high in some instances in a city that is already facing water issues. But I digress. I want to talk about the fact that we must also acknowledge that the presentation that was presented does need evidence, because it's all well and good for us to hear and to take a look at what is being said and the amounts that are being said. But then when the chairperson flights for us pictures, we see that the stories that we are being given is not the reality on the ground. So it must be a practice, as I've already recommended that the Department of Sports, Arts and Culture does, that in this reporting, that there is pictures in annexures, that there is video evidence that these things are happening, that they are being built, and that they are taking place. And then there was also a mention made about underperformance. Now, I want to know from the department side, how are you going to enhance the analysis of underperformance to identify where it's taking place and then to engage in consequence management? On top of that, I want to know how consequence management is defined within the department and how they conduct consequence management and what we have seen from consequence management previously. And then I saw on the presentation that one of the recommendations was literally improve accountability. Now, I don't know how that can exist as a recommendation in isolation, because if it exists as a recommendation in isolation, there's no meat on the bone. You've given us a bone and you've said, here's the protein. You've given us a plate and you've given us empty plate. You've given us an empty plate with no food if you say we want to improve accountability. So I think we really need to know what is meant by improving accountability and how to be conducted. Then I also want to know, when we talk about the MIG grants, how many of the projects that are funded via this run over time and run over budget, and why do they always experience cash flow problems? Because that is a common occurrence in these projects that do not see completion. And it might be as a result of corruption within the process of allocating the tender in the first place, or allocating the service provider. So I think we must really look at that. And then one of the things that was spoken about was that we meet expenditure and it's good. Now, meeting expenditure itself shows that the budget is being used, which is it's a good financial practice to use your budget. But how are we measuring the quality of meeting our expenditure in the first place? That is a very important thing that we must analyze, and I want the department to speak to that. And then it was also spoken of that the Minister of Sports, Arts and Culture has gone on numerous platforms and said that the money for the MIG grants will now be paid in tranches, and that we'll see that upon a completion of a certain phase, then the next amount will be allocated. But I want to know, in the department, is there already policy that exists for this? Is there legislation that allows for this? Is there already financial practices in the past that you have done that show that this has taken place? And also, how is this going to then relate to the fact that the minister has declared that we will not be building new sports infrastructure, but rather we'll be upgrading and maintaining existing sports infrastructure? How do these things relate, and how will they actually be executed is the answer. It's all well and good that we have the plate. I just want to see food on the plate so that the people of South Africa can eat in good sports infrastructure. Thank you very, very much, Chairperson.
Thank you, Honorable Jacobs. Honorable Nkosi, I hope you are sorted out now. Please proceed. Honorable members, I take note of the challenges that members experience with the networks. Honorable Lutuli. Please proceed.
Thank you, Chair. Only one thing I would like to highlight is that where is this sport ground? We are having a problem. I don't know whether it's a culture of the department or it's done by the municipalities. In the rural areas, we got sport facilities, but at the same time, the municipality are collecting a certain amount for the clubs to play on that sport ground. I don't know whether that it's a culture of the department to do that, because I only asking this question because I have seen these things happening for a long time, whereas those clubs in the rural areas, they haven't got money to pay for that sport facilities. Also, there is another complaint I got, is that the department is not looking after those facilities well, because it took very long. In the South Coast, I got the sport facility which was built by the department, although I didn't even see it on the list. But it took 15 years to build that. I don't know what will be the answer to the department, so that I can find out what is the really problem facing the department, to see whether it's a mismanagement or they are taking the money and do the other thing, which is not for the purpose of that sport field. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you so much, Honorable Tuli. I'm having a name since the last. I'm not too sure whether it's Honorable Finis. Please feel free to proceed.
Good morning, Chair. No, I'm fine, Chair.
You're fine. I'm going to give an opportunity to Honorable Daniels now. Please unmute. If not, Honorable Mtetwa.
Chair, I thought Honorable Nkosi was showing here. Is she fine? Because maybe she could be the first one, since she didn't get the chance last time.
Yeah, she has a problem.
I'm fine
Is she
now.
on?
Yes, I'm fine now, Chair.
Proceed. I see you have a steward. Very nice. Proceed.
My apologies to interject, Chairperson.
No, it's fine. Who's that?
No, thank you very much, Honorable Mtetwa.
Mr. Chairperson,
Honorable Daniels,
it's my hand
let
up.
us give Honorable Nkosi an opportunity.
Of course, indeed, respectfully so. I just want you to note my hand is not up from what I see here.
No. What I've said is that I will give you an opportunity if you would like to. If not, I will pass you. But Honorable Nkosi, you may proceed.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson. Good morning to your good self, my colleagues, the honorable members of the Portfolio Committee, DG and his entourage, the support staff. I'm sorry, Chair, for that, because I was traveling by the network here. Chair, let me join my colleagues by welcoming the presentation made by the Dr. Iswa. It was informative and detailed. But I just want to check only, I think, 3 things that I want to check with the department. One is the issue of the projects that are implemented by the municipalities as the projects that are implemented, and those projects are not registered. How is the department assisting the municipality to make sure that they comply? They implement the projects that are registered, because I don't think that is correct for the municipalities to implement that are not registered. Second to that, Chair, the presentation last time, it was indicated that, but I'm subject to be corrected by the DG, that the municipalities that are not spending funds with regards to the grant that is given to them, that money is held by them. They are not given if they are supposed to be allocated in the next financial year. But I just want to check with them that don't they have another mechanism to address that? Because my worry is that if they are holding the money, not giving to the municipalities because they are not spending that money, the communities, they are, according to me, they are deprived. They are essential infrastructure improvement. That means they are losing their money as the municipalities or as the communities to improve their infrastructure. That we know that many municipalities are in need of that grant. Lastly, Chair, on the issue of the procurement processes, what is the department doing in making sure that they assist the municipalities, that they are timely ensure that their initiative projects are maintained as per the transparency and fairness? Because we know for the fact that the municipalities sometimes in their procurement, they are not doing well. But we want to appeal to the department that please assist these municipalities, because we really need these services as the community, and our communities there that we are representing. They really need these projects or these developments on their sides. Thank you very much, Chair. I submit.
Thank you, Honorable Nkosi. Honorable Teto, you may proceed. Please
Thank you,
unmute.
Chair. Thank you, Chair. Good morning to everyone, colleagues and the department, here present officials, and our beautiful and extraordinary staff members. Chair, I know that there's a member who spoke before me, or no, previously, and highlighted the fact that the trivialization of arts and culture in this country is so disheartening. In his own admission, Mr. Mbulelo Changan, he speaks of municipalities not having a dedicated arts and culture division, but as a component within the community services. That on its own speaks volume. He further speaks of sports unifying as a unifying component in isolation of arts and culture. He doesn't mention, but whenever he refers to the department or what the MIG refers to, relates to, is sports, arts, and culture. Let me bring to his attention that cultural and creative industries, its contribution to the GDP of this country is estimated to at 161 billion, the same size of agriculture. That was in 2020. In 2022, or in 2021, the global contribution of arts and culture, creative and cultural and creative sector is estimated in the UK at 108 billion euros, which creates 2.3 million jobs. In the USA, it is estimated at $250 billion a year, with an estimation of 29.5% million jobs. Ernst & Young's report estimates it globally as 30 million jobs, creating 30 million jobs, and a $2.25 trillion in terms of its contribution to the global economy. Now, this includes Europe, North America, Latin America, Africa, and Middle East. And that says a lot when he speaks of sports in isolation. The same mistake that was committed by President Jacob Zuma in his first State of the Nation address that I contested, that you can't speak of sports in isolation of arts and culture or creative and cultural sector in this. It's an industry. The reason why we have these budget cuts is because even the people who are entrusted with dealing with this sector, they don't see it that important. I hope that message gets home, Mr. Changan. Now, in the presentation, when you look at the presentation, it speaks of grant purpose. And the grant purpose being to provide. The operational word is providing. And constantly it refers to poor. We know which race is poor in this country. When you look at the outcomes, it speaks of improved access. Now, when we speak of access, let's look at the realities. A child who enters grade 1 at the age of 6, by the time he gets to grade 12 at the age of 16 or 17, that child would have missed this access that government speaks of it as a priority, where we have projects that take over 10 years to complete. So it means that many children from previously disadvantaged miss the opportunity that is a priority of government to create access for children. The MIG doesn't speak of any facilities or infrastructure development in terms of arts and culture. It refers to sports. I've made this comment even in our previous. Now, it clearly shows that we are far from the reality. We are far from our own policy, understanding our policy, and translating those policies into practical experiences. Previously, Chair, the Department of Culture spoke of sports facilities, but not able to create these sports facilities in schools that were previously regarded as Black-only schools, and mostly these facilities being available in white schools only. Now, I don't know whether the department will respond to this. I want to find out whether, do we really understand where we're coming from? First and foremost, talking about the spirit of Constitution, what it tries to achieve is to create a broad participation because there was an exclusion of one race against the other in terms of privileges. Now, that speaks to the leveling of the playing field, meaning a child in a Black school should not feel lesser privileged than a child in the white school. Now, if you are not providing first and foremost as your purpose, you are not providing facilities for sports, arts, and culture, not sports only. And how do you expect to have an improved, in terms of outcomes, improved access to those? How do you expect to have the spirit of equality that says we are all equal? For a child who comes from any background can participate, whether in the Olympics or anywhere, because he has been given this access. it speaks, it clubs. There's bullet point 3 on outputs. It speaks to sports and recreation. That's misalignment in the first place. When you speak inconsistently and you say sports, arts, and culture, but in your bullet point, it points to sports and recreation. I don't know whether recreation represents arts and culture. We are in a process, post-1994, we're in a process of a redress. But we can't redress when you don't go back to the township schools and the rural schools and say, how can we factor in a multi-purpose facility for children to have this access? And when we are building, then we provide the new ones, the new schools that we are building, we provide. You refer in, I think it is in bullet point around that, those outputs, or I think it's the priority. It speaks of integration. You can't integrate when you have different approaches to schools that relate to the previously disadvantaged as compared to the schools that are relating to those who had privileges. It speaks of human settlement. Do we understand what human settlement? We moved from Department of Housing to human settlement because the whole perspective around that, it is to create a notion that when we look at infrastructure, we don't look at building houses only. It includes roads. It is in your presentation. Roads, hospitals, job places of work, facilities that are available in every municipality. There shouldn't be a situation where a child has to travel 50-something km in order to access a sporting field that is, or a swimming pool that is of Olympic standard. And local government on that particular priority of government. You speak of local government because the local governments are the closest to the people. But local governments, as you said, that they don't even treat these things important because they are challenged with the issue of provision of water, electricity, and other basics necessities. I think I would leave it there that the department can either respond to that, whether are we redressing or are we creating a new South Africa in terms of physically and infrastructural wise? Are we saying there's a new, we are going to relocate the South African society into this new infrastructure that is a new South Africa? Thanks, Chair.
Thank you so much, Honorable Mtetwa. Honorable Aris.
Good morning, Chair. Thank you very much. Chair, I just want to add just one or two questions to that I've raised last week. You know, there's one, can you hear me, Chair? Chair, the art
Yes, you may
centers
proceed. You are audible, you may
Northwest.
proceed.
Yes, in Northwest, there's about 30 art centers which are operating, and all of these art centers are operating from dilapidated buildings. And my question then is that this migrant is for this department is sport, art, and culture. And as the previous speakers mentioned, this is one part of sport, art, and culture that has been lacked in terms of art. And the department seriously need to look into that. The other issue that I also would like to raise is for example, in Northwest, in Joburton Extension 7, you know what they do? They upgrade the facility, the sports facility, then they left it. So, which means that facility has been left unused, and again, that facilities has been vandalized, which means that when grant is being allocated again, it means that money must again go to the upgrade of that facility. And that's a problem, because I would like to know from the department, what monitoring measures do they have in place to ensure that migrant that has been allocated to a municipality not continuously being utilized for the same projects over and over again. And then there's another one, the Oppenheimer Sports Stadium in Northwest. That is the stadium where that people passed away years ago with that Kaizer Chiefs and Pirates match. That stadium was supposed to be adopted, I think, by Mamelodi Sundowns or somewhere in Waldorf. And yet that stadium is also laying unused. So the department seriously need to come up with measures and plans to monitor, because right now I don't see that they have a system in place where they follow the money that they are giving to these municipalities. And then also the other thing that I would like, and I think a previous speaker did mention it, the use of the grant and the equal spreading in the respective areas, because you find out that the grants are not spent equally. When you look at the type of upgrade that's been useful, that the grant's been used for. And then again, I want to emphasize the standard of the type of sport facilities in the respective community. That is a serious challenge the department seriously need to look into. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Aris. We used to call it the Walrus Stadium. I don't want to add in what state that stadium is. Honorable Molatsane.
Good morning, Chairperson. Good morning, honorable members. Good morning, our professional staff. Chairperson, I think I have some few questions that I want to raise. Last week on the presentation that was done by the department, the DSEC, they've talked about projects that are already being at an 80% or at others are already complete. I just want to check with the department that those projects that the department said are already complete, have they done the handover to the municipality in order for the municipality to take care of those facilities? Or it's only just that they will be complete and they will be just left like that and they end up being dilapidated? The reason I'm saying this is because on the report, they've raised the issue that there's a sports center facilities that is on 80% in Metsimaholo municipality. Fortunately, it's where I came from. I think it's just that technology is not my friend, because I've took the photos of those facilities that the department claimed that they are at 80%. The facility is not even at 20% according to what I saw when I went there to go and check that facility. Two, I wonder, Chairperson, are we going to sit back, relax, when money's been spent and you find that the facility is not where it's supposed to be according to the report of the department? My problem is one, Chairperson, because if we don't stand up and correct all these things that are being done by the department, we are going to find ourselves again having the Sarah Bartman somewhere in the country, the second Sarah Bartman situation somewhere in the country, Chairperson, because you'll find that the department will say this, but when you arrive there, it's a different story to what the department has already told us. And we can't be sitting back and say that, no, it's fine, we'll go back and talk to the department. Someone somewhere in the department, they need to take responsibility of this. But unfortunately, Chairperson, even we said someone need to take responsibility of this. It's that the department officials, especially on the DSEC, they will be given that responsibility to ensure that the project runs, the project get completed and so forth. But at the end of the day, you'll find that the same official, the project doesn't get completed. It ran up until 70%, and then it gets dilapidated. When they went to finish that project, it's already dilapidated. It's like there was nothing that has been done, and we kept quiet. We don't say anything to the official who was responsible for that department. I think, Chairperson, the other thing that we need to emphasize as the portfolio committee is that the department needs to get people who have a technical skill, because we are now in Hollywood. We are now in Hollywood in department. Someone will be bringing from where? From this department to this department, from that department to that department, only to find that the person that we are bringing it, they don't have that skill that we want as the as the portfolio. The person that doesn't have the skill that the department wants, to ensure that that person who's going to run the project will be able even to detect, arriving at a project, that here the wall is not straight, or the wall has been cut. It's not the way it's supposed to be, like on a draft. I think that's one thing that, Chairperson, we need to take care of. Secondly, Chair, I just want to check. I want to support Honorable Mthethwa on this. Every time we talk about sports facilities, we don't talk anything about arts facilities. We cannot keep on. We want to have your actors, your storytellers, your all this that are in arts department, but we don't do anything with regarding the arts facilities. For an example, you go to Sasolburg, we have a state-of-the-art theater. Unfortunately, it's a private theater, and the local people don't have access to it unless there's an activity that is going to be run by the department or by one of the town school. How can we assist our arts? Because we have artists all over our provinces. How can we assist them in order for them to access those theaters that are in our areas? Because for someone to excel in what he's doing, you cannot go to auditions being practicing in the house. At some stage, you'll have to go and practice in that stage to see if we can be able to master your artistic whatever that you're supposed to do. What are we doing as the department? Are we saying that it's fine, let those theaters that are run by the private companies remain just like that? Our people cannot be able to access them. It can't be, Chair. We need to do something. I think, Chair, for now, I will just pause here, and thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you so much. I see some hands is still coming. I'm going to end with Honorable Sali, and I'm going to close the speakers list. We have a marathon of concerns and questions being raised. And so much so, last week, most of the questions was directed to DSEC. And I understand the frustrations of the members after Kokta left. Contrary, so most of the questions are now directed to Kokta. So I would like to give Honorable Tsangana a reasonable time. You will have at least an hour and 15 minutes to respond to those questions. I'm going to call upon now Honorable Gugu Mshunu, following by I'm not sure what the honorable member's name is. On the screen, it shows Patrick's iPhone. If that is an honorable member, you're welcome to speak after Honorable Mshunu. Then I'm closing it with Advocate Shamila Saleh. Honorable Mshunu.
Mkono.
Mkono.
Yes.
Mkuno.
Thank you,
My
Oh,
humble
yes.
apologies. I used to struggle. That's why I'm saying Google.
Yeah,
My
no,
humble apologies.
Okay, thank you, Chair, and good morning to you, my honorable Chair, and good morning to everyone. I'm sorry, maybe you have noticed that I'm on and off in the meeting due to technical glitches. But I have just two questions. I think the questions that I had already covered by my colleagues. But the first question is, how can the department improve the maintenance and sustainability of sports facilities built or upgraded using MIG funds to ensure long-term use by the community? And the second one is, how can UTSEC and COCTA strengthen the consequence management to reduce crime and corruption related to the misuse of MIG funds across all levels of government, particularly at the municipality level? Thank you so much, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Kunu. Patrick's iPhone.
Thank you, Chairperson. I'm sorry, my name is Patrick Sibande, member in NCOP. Chairperson, I won't be long, but I wanted to comment first and then ask only maybe one or two questions. Chairperson, first of all, I wanted to request you to pardon me that I couldn't make it last week due to some reasons. But I'm following up because I'm also a member. We do receive some of the information. Chairperson, yes, of course, we need relevant and proper infrastructure in order to balance the imbalances of the past in sports and in our schools as well and in our locals as well. But here comes the questions. You know, there was the latter speakers, they spoke about the issue of sports and recreation and also in sports and culture. So therefore, my question is that, you know, they normally used to say charity begins at home. That means that some of the things we must start them from the younger states, in elder states, in different schools. Therefore, does the department have a data of all sports facilities, of all different sports codes in our schools in the provinces? Because that is a starting factor. You know, that one is going to help in this fashion. It's going to help, it's going to contribute in a proper budgeting, and also is going to assist the department in terms of proper monitoring and proper accounting by the municipalities. And then also raise a concern, as other members have raised too. You see, the reason why I'm raising that thing, if we were talking about infrastructure in the different places, you go to my area in Bethel, where I was born. It is a shame and disgrace. We do have the so-called stadium. It's not even a sport ground. Go and see what is happening. It's an open field with few grandstands, nothing else. Because that one, it costs, you know, when our people at home listen to us speaking about the department, about the budgets, about all the allocations, but it raises concerns in some of the areas. Some people, they call it even in rural areas, whereby there's nothing. There's nothing. You see, Chairperson, let me refer to quote something. If you go to Japan, we had a study group in Japan some years ago where we realized and where we learned that a lot of the things is being mentored from the school upwards. And now I will put an example. The very same Bethal managed to produce an athlete in the name of Tukwane who won international. But if we don't have help, we don't have anything. So when is this department going to come in our area to do something in order to assist the local government in some of the areas? So that is the gist of the matter. Thank you, Chairperson.
Yeah, thank you for that input, Honorable Sebande. I've played soccer up there in Bethel, and I can tell you there are high potential people around that side. Advocate Sally, and I'm going to bend my own rules here. I see it's Malesela's hands also up. In the light of this serious discussions, I'm going to allow you, rightfully said last week, this is one of my best meetings. And if I think we could have lived our life over, I would really just do this that we are discussing now, migrants. Honorable Aris has mentioned something about 30 art centers in the Northwest. There are so many issues. And if we can just dedicate our time, just to this migrant, I think we will be able to do a lot for this country. Honorable Sally and then Honorable Malesela.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Good morning, everybody. This is a major concern for all of us, and I share my colleagues' heartfelt concerns. During the darkest days of apartheid, when hope was non-existent for our people, sports, arts, culture served as powerful transformational tools to counter the oppression and injustice in our society. Sports, arts, and culture literally changes people's lives. Right here in Cape Town, I was disgusted to see the conditions our young people has to perform in with athletics. Athletics being changed because of infrastructure or a lack of infrastructure. We need solutions. We need accountability. We need transparency. We have current structures in place throughout our country. It's neglected, not maintained, or it's incomplete buildings. Millions is allocated, but we continue with a lack of proper oversights. Yes, municipalities has responsibilities and oversight, but on a national level, we too have our responsibilities. Sports, arts, and culture, all buildings and infrastructures. We need to look at what we have and what we still need to build. Listening to Sona, Honorable Chair, I was disappointed not to hear about issues that we are facing in our portfolio in Sona. These problems we are facing, it's historical problems from one parliament to another, one term to the next, and nothing is being done. We live in a digital age where access to information should be easier. We should have easy access to all the data of all the infrastructures when it comes to sports, arts, and culture in our country and what is currently happening in those structures. I cannot understand that we're living in a day and age where we are so digitalized, but we are still so backwards. We have lack of oversight still happening. How many parliaments more are we going to be speaking about these concerns and nothing is being done? Chair, we have lodged these concerns. These concerns is quite evident. Our people in different municipalities are lodging concerns. They are raising concerns. But what is the problem here? There are solutions, but why are we not fulfilling our mandate and ensuring the accountability, the transparency, and the oversight? Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Sally. That was short and sweet. The final speaker, I've seen a hand of Honorable Mtetwa. I'm not going to give Honorable Mtetwa an opportunity. It will be a third bite for this consecutive meeting. I'm going to give an opportunity now to, who was that? After Honorable Sally.
Mukwele.
Yes,
Honorable
sorry.
Malesela.
Yes, thank you.
No, thanks very much, Chair, and greeting to honorable members in the platform. Chair, my name is Honorable Malesela Mukwele, but I've corrected it because I understand why you started with Malesela only. But nonetheless, thanks, Chair, for affording me the opportunity. Chair, I'm not going to be long because there was one speaker who was emphasizing the issue of childhood development, whereby indeed, as the Department of Sports, Arts and Culture, if we want to invest in sports, arts and culture, we must just go back to the basic chair. I should think all of us, we all know that as South African, especially those football followers, those who understand that as the country where we produced our legend, soccer legend in particular, it was at the school level. But to be honest, throughout the country, I'm from the rural province called Limpopo, whereby you can even see that most of the facilities at school, because if we are not investing there, honorable members, at the school level, really, as the country, we are not going to produce what we used to produce before, the legend that we produce. So, like I'm saying that I'm not going to be long, because there was one speaker who covered me to say that the Department of Infrastructure, what they need to start to invest is at the school level, because even those poor schools at those area, you will find that even their sports ground, they cannot be even regravelled. I'm not talking of having the good sports facilities, where if you ask that why your sports facilities is like this, they will tell you that no, even if when we go to municipalities, they will say, no, it's not our responsibility. It is the responsibility of the Department of Education, whereby they are expecting that the schools with those small money of norms and standards, they must also try to maintain sports facilities and even to make sure that we do this. So, but the point that I wanted to put forward, Chair, like I said, I'm not going to be long. I don't want to repeat what the Honorable Sibande in particular was emphasizing, to say that we need to find a way that as department we invest there, but hence also not to forget to agree with those speakers that indicate the issue of arts, because with the issue of arts, as the government, we just want to rely on miracle, because we are saying that arts and culture bring a different community together. But we are not investing there. We are not doing even anything. You can see that even at the rural, you can't even get the theaters. You can't even see where we can say, yeah, we are producing them, the people that they will, the good musician and others. That's why this thing, you will always get these people, even though most of them, they are from rural areas, they will even go to the cities. You'll find that you've got a very popular singer who's coming from the rural province, but at some point you may think that this person is from Gauteng or Durban, where in those metros. But in the main, Chair, I'm saying that let's go back to the basic. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you so much, Honorable Member. Mr. Tsangan, you are the Director of the department, and like I've said, so many questions have been posed to COGTA, of which is an outcry of insufficient funds, ineffective monitoring and evaluation, underfunding per se, and what makes matters worse, Honorable Moletsane has mentioned the issue of fiscal dumping. Because how dare we, as a department, from whichever side, do renovations on a particular area, but it is not in use. You do have 1 hour and 20 minutes to respond to these questions. I've made a few notes, and I would really want COGTA to get into the detail of these responses, and DSEC as well. If so, add to all of these. And again, I would like to invite members to send us all these concerns to both myself and Honorable Fanny, so that we can take this matter up as portfolio committee members in terms of the spheres, as you have mentioned, the particular layers, which I think we as the portfolio committee and the select committee are also included in that oversight. And I would like the PC secretary to go and pull for us the Schedule 5B, so that if we go with our oversight sometime next week, that we can make sure that these things are being mentioned, especially the issues raised by Honorable Malasela Makwele. I want us to go with proof of these, the issue of, pass the buck, who's responsible and who have to take care of whatever. Mr. Tsangan, I'm giving you the 1 hour and 20 minutes. You may decide how you're going to use it, give it to a designated individual responsible for that particular areas. And please feel free between the two of you in also dissect how best we will be able to utilize this 1 hour and 20 minutes. Please go ahead, sir.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. Thank you very much to the honorable members of the committee for the questions. They're all relevant questions because they're all about the management of the portfolio and also the management of the projects, the capacity of the state. When I say the capacity of the state, I mean all the actors who are involved in the management of this portfolio and the programs. My colleagues will come in as well at some point to deal with some specific questions, but let me start with one question, then I'll cover others as well, around school infrastructure, because this question was asked last week as well, and I think we did not respond to it adequately. Maybe at some point, the portfolio committee will have to call National Treasury to share with this committee the process that Treasury has started on the grant review. Because we do have quite a number of grants, infrastructure grants in this country, infrastructure grants that are intended to finance infrastructure in municipalities and sector-related infrastructure. For instance, the Education Infrastructure Grant, which is administered by the Department of Basic Education, that grant is meant to deal with schools infrastructure, all of it. It is meant to deal with water infrastructure in schools. It's meant to deal with sanitation infrastructure in schools. It's meant to deal with sports infrastructure in schools. It's meant to deal with arts. That grant is intended to support infrastructure in all schools. And again, you may want to call the Department of Basic Education to come here and account on how they are implementing that grant and how that grant is performing. Now, the bigger question, which is one of the reasons why I'm asking that at some point you need to call National Treasury to come and share with you the grant review process. Because Treasury has taken a decision that we need to review these grants. There are too many of them. And in some cases, these grants are not even talking to each other. Or there's a duplication of efforts in some instances. But you can't just review a grant without reviewing the policies, because grants are intended to finance policies. Otherwise, you will be accused of tinkering with the grant system. What are the policy parameters that inform that review? That's the bigger question that we should be asking. You don't just review a grant. You need to ask yourself, what problem are you solving by reviewing the grant? And that problem is in the policy, because grants are informed by the policies. They don't operate in vacuum. And I concur 100% with Honorable Mtetwa that we should not be talking about sports in isolation. We should be talking about the entire portfolio. And I think it's the mistake that we make all the time. And I agree with him 100%. If you look at countries like Australia, New Zealand, and other countries, they're doing well in all of these areas because they have taken a deliberate approach to support schools infrastructure, all of it, and not just sport, all of what is required for our kids to perform locally and globally. So we can't contest that assertion by Honorable Mtetwa, and I agree with him 100%. So let's look at whether MIG and EIG, MIG being Municipal Infrastructure Grant, and part of it is intended to finance the portfolio that you are looking, that you are overseeing. And EIG is supporting basic education infrastructure. Now, if you compare the two grants, the MIG, what the MIG does, and what EIG, which is the Education Infrastructure Grant, then you will be in a better position to see whether what we are doing is a hit and a miss kind of an approach, or whether the two grants are complementing each other. So it's important that you take a holistic helicopter view of all of these grants that are financing infrastructure in our communities. Now, then the next question, there are specific questions that I think will be better answered by my colleagues from DSEC. For instance, the specific projects in Matlosana, JB Marks, and I think they will be in a better position to know what is happening there. Now, there was a question about the metros, metropolitan municipalities. Metropolitan municipalities are financed from USDG. You will recall that before the introduction of USDG in 2011, we had the MIG. And National Treasury took a component of MIG and a component of Human Settlements Development Grant and created what is now called USDG, which is administered by the Department of Human Settlements. In the USDG, there is a component that is meant to deal with the type of infrastructure that we're talking about, the DSEC infrastructure that we're talking about today. But I don't know if the committee has any line of sight in terms of understanding how metros are spending that grant. For instance, in December, the majority of the 8 metropolitan municipalities were not performing very well on that grant, on the USDG grant. And I still have the figures in my head. I know that in December, the best performing municipality was Buffalo City at 45%, then followed by the city of Cape Town. These are the December figures, end of December. Cape Town was performing at 41%. And then you had Ekurhuleni, I think, at 31% by December. You had Tshwane, Mangaung at 28%. Now, it's important for the committee to get those reports. Human Settlements, who's administering them, they get reports on non-financial performance and financial performance of the USDG. You should be getting those reports. And you have every right to call individual municipalities themselves, City of Cape Town, City of Johannesburg, City of Tshwane, to come and account on how they are spending their grant. And the questions that were raised about the capacity of municipalities and whether municipalities are taking DSEC portfolio seriously. It's not treated as by the way in community services. Those are questions that should be posed directly to the metropolitan municipalities. There should be no excuse for metropolitan municipalities at all. We will understand if Ditsobotla is complaining and that they don't have enough capacity, they don't have enough money to establish a Department of Sports, Arts and Culture in the municipality. But the city of Cape Town, the city of Ekurhuleni, the city of Johannesburg, they need to account as to why sports, arts and culture is not taken seriously. And those are questions that the leaders in the council themselves must be able to answer. And you have access to them, and you can call them to come to this committee to account as to why sports, arts and culture is not being prioritized in municipalities. The same applies to the Department of Basic Education. I made an example last week of players like Dr. Kumalo, who came up through school sports from Soweto. And in those days, we used to go in numbers and watch competition between various schools in the township. I grew up in the township myself, not far from here in Langa. So I'm of the view that departments who are administering these grants must come and account. Human settlements must come and account to you on how USDG is being managed and how it's being implemented. We will account on how MIG is implemented. Now, there is a question about consequence management, enhancing consequence management and accountability. In my opening remarks, I stated that the first line of accountability should be at the level where programs are implemented. The first line of accountability is within a municipality. But what happens at our level as accounting officers, one of the instruments that we use, which is not a very good instrument, but we have to use it because it's in the law, is to withhold the grant when municipalities are not performing. We will withhold that grant when municipalities are using the grant for things that are not intended for. Now, if we don't do that, if the accounting officer, the transferring officer does not withhold the grant when municipalities are doing wrong things, National Treasury is going to do it. And when National Treasury does it, they take the grant out of the sector completely. That money which municipalities are using for things that they are not intended to be utilized for, Treasury will then say, transferring officer, you are not doing your work. So therefore, we are taking this money and we're going to give it to other sectors. There are too many competing demands in the country. There's NHI, there is defense, there's so many competing demands for budget. And remember, the fiscus is not doing well. So when you don't spend your money or you spend your money in wrong things, then you are likely to lose that money. So what we do as accounting officers, we withhold the allocation and give it to those municipalities that are performing. It's not a good instrument to use because you are committing what we call collective punishment of the citizens in that municipality for the wrong things that the administrators have done in the council. So you're moving money that is earmarked, say, for JB Max to Mahikeng because JB Max is not doing what it's supposed to do. So therefore, the people of JB Max are going to lose money for wrong things that the administrators are doing. So that is collective punishment because that money is needed in that council. Now, the intergovernmental fiscal system is not very flexible. But what we normally do in instances where there's been consistent demonstration of poor performance in a municipality, we try to write to National Treasury. I think Section 20 of DORA allows us to convert the grant from a direct grant to an indirect grant. In other words, you can convert from 5B to 6B. I think the Section 20 of DORA, if my memory serves me well, does allow us to do that, to convert a portion of the grant into an indirect grant. If it becomes an indirect grant, that is Schedule 6B, it means the department, in this case, it will be DSEC, will be directly responsible for the implementation of those projects. They will have to appoint an implementing agent that they think is capacitated to implement those programs and projects. And there was a question about the deployment of technical capacity. So you can look around and ask yourself, which of the agencies that we have in the country, if you look at the state as a whole, there are organizations that are well capacitated to do this. In our case, for instance, we appoint MISA, the Municipal Infrastructure Support Agents, to implement programs on behalf of municipalities. We have a Schedule 6B grant that MISA is implementing in Utugela as we speak. We have a Schedule 6B grant that MISA is implementing in Mfuleni as we speak, because we realize that the two municipalities are struggling with the expenditure. For instance, in Utugela, you have an old project of Eguvukin where there's no water. The president went there as early as 2017 for that project to be prioritized. It's still not completed. So we then took a decision that we are going to use MISA to implement this project. The department can do the same. The Department of DSEC can do the same and appoint an implementing agent to implement programs on behalf of the municipality. The biggest elephant in the room is maintenance of the infrastructure. It's one thing to deliver infrastructure. The easiest way to kill infrastructure, I've said it last week, is to stop maintaining it. And it's not only this type of infrastructure that we're talking about, the sports infrastructure. It is water infrastructure. It is electricity infrastructure. I've said it in my opening remarks that the distribution network in municipalities on electricity is failing. You look at the report that the Department of Water and Sanitation releases after every 2 years on non-revenue water. Non-revenue water in simple language is leaks, water leaks. And this is a water that municipalities buy from the water boards, paid for, but get lost along the way. Those figures are there on non-revenue water. And non-revenue water happens because the water infrastructure is not maintained. So this issue of maintenance is a big problem for the country as a whole. You showed us your pictures last week. We saw those pictures. You can see at first sight that this is about maintenance of the infrastructure, despite the fact that some of the projects are not completed. But you also showed us pictures of infrastructure that is not maintained properly. So maintenance is a big disease that we have to contract head on as a country. Municipalities are allowed to use a portion of the grant for maintenance. But I guess most municipalities are under pressure. The municipal budget, if you look at it, is beginning to resemble the national budget as well. The biggest component is the payment of the SCOLOT, debt servicing, if you like. And so debt servicing is eating up on service delivery. They have to pay ESCOM. Some municipalities owe ESCOM big sums of money. They have to pay water boards. They owe water boards big sums of money. The figures are huge. And now all of that money is money that is meant to go into infrastructure maintenance, building new infrastructure. So the country has to confront this demon of maintenance because it's all across the board. You know, it's everywhere. It's not only in your portfolio, Chairperson. It's across the board. But we're dealing with that challenge. Then I will not be in a better position to answer the specific questions about Johannesburg, the projects that were listed. But I'm making a recommendation that if the committee wants to have a 360-degree view of what is happening in the grants that we are administering, you are interested in schools infrastructure, DBE must come and account to you. They need to come and report to you. You are interested in how USDG is administered in the metropolitan municipalities, the 8 metropolitan municipalities. Human settlements must come and account and report to you both on the financial performance and non-financial performance of the USDG grant, so that you have a 360-degree view of how all of these grants that are meant to finance your portfolio are performing. So I'm taking those high-level questions. I will not be in a better position to answer about the Northern Cape High School question. I think my colleagues from DSEC can deal with that. The question about cost overruns, well, cost overruns is a function of either poor costing of the project, poor feasibility studies, poor planning, or poor project management. Because if a service provider has been appointed and that service provider is not staying within the budget, and it's either that project costing was fictitious, it was not realistic, or the project managers who are supposed to manage the project themselves are not doing their work. So in this case, yes, you do need to beef up technical capacity so that we can manage these projects. In the built environment, everything is about time. Projects in the built environment are very, very sensitive to time. If you don't deliver them on time, then you are going to pay a fortune. If you're not project managing them on time, then you are going to pay a fortune. And in some cases, service providers, if you don't manage them properly, will then impose penalties on you. So you end up paying more than what you have budgeted for. So you have to get the right professionals for projects in the built environment to be managed properly. We know this. In my previous life, I was the DG of Human Settlement and also DG of Water. We know projects that did not go very well. And we know that in those projects, the bigger part of the problem was that those projects were either not costed properly or those projects were not managed professionally, which is why we end up with cost overruns. Chairperson, let me give my colleagues as well an opportunity to respond to some of the questions. And I think DSEC will also pick up some of the questions. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you, Honorable Zangan. Your colleagues may proceed alongside the notion of the fact that you become slowly but surely one of my favorite DGs when it comes to responses and the empowering of members on information. Thank you so much.
Can I ask Werner if there are any specific questions that Werner would want to respond to? Or Nolwazi, if through your chair.
Please do so. I was worried. I saw Werner earlier also left, but I see he's back. Please do so, DG.
Yes, he needs to earn his salary. Werner, please go ahead.
Thank you very much. And first of all, good morning to honorable members and officials. I want to respond to one specific question with regard to arts and culture. The MIC responds to the integrated development plan of a municipality, which consists of the understanding of how the various sectors' needs are, or how the various sectors will play a contribution within that specific space. For example, the MIC will fund projects that are identified within the IDP relating to water and sanitation, as an example. So that is where, in my view, where we need to start with regard to arts and culture, to what level that then is represented within the IDPs of municipalities, for it to start to identify what infrastructural needs will be required for it to be funded from the MIT. I could recall in slide number 7, my apologies, the slides were not numbered, Oh no, it is at the top left hand. It was slide number 7. It indicated that municipalities must provide MIC funds for infrastructure that services eligible beneficiaries, such as basic residential infrastructure for poor, for water, sanitation, roads and stormwater, waste management, street lighting, and community facilities. So my understanding or interpretation of the word community facilities, infrastructure that relates to arts and culture would be covered under community facilities. A general concern that we have in many sectors is that sectors do not participate in those processes within municipalities to make sure that the municipality clearly understands what the sector's priority is. Now remember, IDP is not only with the community needs, but also then is the interface between the sector's priorities. And we understand that in many instances, that sector priorities are not necessarily adequately discharged or understood by municipalities to reflect how the IDP needs to respond to, amongst other things, to be funded from the MIC. So the MIC can fund arts and culture, infrastructure. The concern just is whether those norms and standards are in place to allow the MIC to adequately support that sector, if you can call it as a sector. That was the question. So I think we can lay many fears to bed in the sense that the MIC does allow for arts and culture infrastructures to be funded. We fund a lot of community halls. And in many instances, they end up being white elephants. We fund a lot of multi-purpose community centers, which end up being white elephants. And it's, of course, the utilization of communities that would make them functional and to the benefit of those communities. And I assume, should arts and culture start playing a role within communities, surely those existing facilities that we've been constructing can be utilized with some level of adjustment or upgrading to allow those type of arts and culture norms and standards to be accommodated within those existing infrastructures that we've already constructed. With regard to the first point, the DG intent with regard to the continuation of the grant, the ring-fenced amount, it seems from that will only be starting to be phased out from 26, 27. The Department of Sports, Arts and Culture have already indicated to us the allocation, and works have already been done with regard to identifying the projects for the year 25-26 to be implemented under the MIC program in this regard. I do understand the concerns from Honourable Jacobs, and we will make sure that we start to engage with the Portfolio Committee on the progress and portfolio of evidence that we receive as a department to ensure that these facilities are actually upgraded or constructed as contracted. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Werner. DG, is there anyone else, unless we are going to give an opportunity to DSEC?
Honorable Chair, I think we've covered most of the questions that were directed to DCOC. And if we've left out any question, please feel free to remind us. I think at this stage we can hand over to DSEC. Thank you very much.
Yeah, before DSEC is going to take over, I just want to read very quick the resolution of the Portfolio Committee pertaining to the BRRR. And I would like DSEC also to take cognizance of this. One of it was that the committee requires the department to provide an update report, including the extent of the involvement in technical support and monitoring aspect, and the submission of its prevailing user asset management plan on all ongoing infrastructure projects, their related projected budgets, and completion dates by the end of the third quarter of 2024-2025. The committee further requests to be updated on the status on the special investigation units into libraries listed in the Proclamation 160 of 2024. Additionally, the department must conduct a comprehensive assessment of sport, arts, and culture infrastructure in rural areas with a view to increase infrastructure and participation in these areas. The department should ensure, working with the provinces, that funding for infrastructure projects are ring-fenced. And this is also a direct result of what the DJ have said, are ring-fenced and not used for other purposes. This recommendation from the BRRR with a deadline of 31 December 2024. So I just would like to mention this, and I have not seen any responses in this regard. May the department also take note and also of the observation from the committee, that the committee's previous BRRR report noted the concern with the protracted timeframes and cancelled costs relating to the implementation of certain infrastructure projects. I hope that TSEC is taking note, and I will apologize if I have not perhaps seen this, and if the department have responded, and this intertwine. It speaks to the fact, and it also is a glorifier of the meeting that we have now with the Select Committee and with COCTA. And I must say, we have met COCTA in this parliament at first, on our program, were they first on our program, we should really think of realigning our program pertaining to, the summoning of various other departments and entities, DBE, as well as the human settlement. I just want to make this final comment as well. I have been told at some time that when it comes to the monitoring and evaluation, that the department only has 5 employees. Clearly, if this is the truth, it's clear that the department lacks capacity. And also, during our visit, and we just can't help that I heard Honorable Maletsane has also mentioned it, that at every single meeting, Sarah Bartman is coming up. We were not even being accommodated by the monitoring and evaluation unit when we visited and conduct a oversight visit on Sarah Bartman. With that said, Dr. Kumalo, welcome again, and you may proceed.
Thank you very much, Chairperson, and thank you to the members for the question, acknowledging the presence of all the members of your portfolio, Chairperson, and also the members of the Select Committee and the Chairperson thereof, DG COCTA, and my colleagues. Colleagues, maybe just to start off with the latter, where you were talking about the BRRR report, I do want to confirm that the department has compiled responses to that. I'll follow up, Chairperson, to check where it is at this point in time, because my understanding is that it's supposed to come then through the Speaker's office, but we did compile and forward to the Minister's office for sign-off. We will check. We copied the Secretary, Chair, but I do understand that it's not supposed to be submitted before Minister has signed it off. Chairperson, I want to allow our Chief Director, Infrastructure, you've met him, Mr. Mukhera, to come in with the specifics around the projects that were examples that were made, Johannesburg, in Northwest and others. But perhaps before I do that, just allow me to touch on 2 things just quickly.
I am also being schooled, Chairperson, I need to admit that, by the DG Cocta, and I was noting that he has been DG in 2 other portfolios, so I can understand the vast experience that he is actually sharing with us. One is actually being schooled. And also in his outline also of the responsibilities and oversight, it really gives room, Chair, for us to then be able to see areas of improvement where we can be able to improve on our systems. Chairperson, what I wanted just to touch on quickly before Mr. Mukwera comes on, you've made reference actually already on the user asset management plan, because when it comes to currently taking care of some of the infrastructure, either development or maintenance, including repairs, that we are able to do in the space of arts, culture, and heritage. That is how we are currently being able to take care in the absence of a bigger allocation that we can be able to provide for the arts. I'm speaking arts, culture, and heritage facility or infrastructure development. So maybe Lebogang, when you come on, just touch on the and also the extent to which we have within our own MEGA budget allocation through the been able to take care of some of the projects that talk to arts, culture, and heritage. We have, Chairperson, which is my second point that I just wanted to made several attempts, and we are now also on being backed by the white paper Arts, Culture and Heritage, have had engagements with National Treasury around, and I want just to specifically speak to the Community Arts Center that Honorable Aris was talking about. And there's been presentations and representation made to National Treasury. And they have given us a very clear directive in terms of what we need to do if we are to at all move towards a conditional grant for community art centers in particular. And those directives include, for instance, conducting a full audit on the existing facilities and assets in the country that are to do with the space of community art centers. And the department has embarked on that in this financial year. I think once we conclude that particular exercise, we will then be able to give you a firmer feedback on where we are also with that one. But National Treasury was very clear to us that if we are to even consider augmenting funding that we're currently putting in the for arts and culture and heritage, it would have to be reprioritized, Chairperson, internally. DG spoke about the fiscal constraints that government is experiencing, and I think that is why National Treasury was very clear to say, yes, we hear you, and we see the need to also prioritize arts, culture, and heritage, but be aware of the fact that you will have to do it within your own budget allocation. So I wanted just quickly, Lebogang, before you then come on board to talk to the specific examples and specific issues, to just touch on those things just broadly. Through you, Chairperson, if I can allow Mr. Mukwera.
Proceed.
Is unmute.
You need to unmute, Lebogang. We can see you talking. Yeah.
Oh, my apologies. I was saying thank you very much, DG, and good morning to the chair members of the Portfolio Committee as well as the Select Committee, and good morning to all colleagues. Chair, with your permission, because of the instability of my network, at least I felt let me do this decent thing first for members to see that it's me. With your permission, Chair, I would request to then switch off my video and proceed with my response as delegated by my DG. Chair, I will start at the point where the ATG has advised me to start in terms of the funding available for infrastructure in relation to arts, culture, and I'll also include heritage. And this is to add to what was said by Werner earlier, to say that part of the things that MIG would fund, of course, would include community facilities. And I think the view is correct that says facilities in relation to arts and culture could somehow be assumed to be part of the community facilities. But important to what he has also said was MIG, of course, it's meant to fund IDP identified projects, and it was important that he elevates that point, that projects into the IDP, they do get in through a process of public participation during those community engagements. Now, in our instance, as a department responsible for that sector, Chair, we do have a capital budget. I think in the current financial year, we have about 324 million, Chairperson, for arts, culture, and heritage. Included or integral to that specific budget are projects in relation to community arts centers, which I think it's a point that has been elevated by a number of honorable members, and in particular the Honorable Mthethwa. Yes, of course, also it includes projects like your performing arts centers, your theaters, and that's also where you find a very notorious project like Sarah Bartman as a heritage project. But I'm elevating this point, Chair, just to try and emphasize to say that it isn't that completely there is no funding for that specific infrastructure, but certainly we cannot dispute that it is not adequate, but also we have been schooled today that we can still tap into MIG for facilities like arts and culture facilities. Chair, there's an issue that has been raised consistently. I will deal with it just as a matter of concern and a principle of projects that have been reported in the submission or the presentation I made last time when we were in Parliament, where certain percentages or status of the projects would be indicated. And members would say that what has been reflected in the document, it's not consistent with what they see on the ground. Perhaps it's important, Chair, to indicate that we felt that it was very important to give members a sense of the historical background of specifically the ring-fenced MIG, how it came to being and when did it started. And since it started, how many projects were funded, and not only the number, but the specifics in terms of those projects. Which municipalities, what were the names of the projects, and how many were allocated. We felt that is important. Surely members would then be sufficiently empowered to determine how to filter and focus on what they consider to be of interest and importance to them. And Chair, the reason why I say that is because if a project was completed in 2017-18, and we have reported it as such, but over the years, the issue that has been raised of lack of maintenance, that project would have deteriorated to a point that when you look at the ground, you do not see anything coming close to 100%, or something that was completed because of vandalism as well as lack of maintenance. That would be the today's status of the project. But ours is an obligation to report that when that project was funded in 2017-18, what happened to it? Yes, it was closed out. Yes, it was completed, but over time, that asset deteriorated because of those specific factors. But I want to zoom, and to make an example of that, Chairperson, I can encourage even honorable members to visit a project there in Hamagara in Northern Cape. That project even deteriorated without it being utilized. We ended up investing about 2 million for a soccer pitch, only to find that we were creating a very nice habitat for the snakes. Because when we visited at some point, we were told that the only thing there that is in abundance, it's the snakes. And right there at the point where we have constructed the pitch. We have a situation in Ganspan, also in Northern Cape, where indeed the project was not completed. It was at about 80%, but due to contractual dispute, it was never concluded, and members of the communities over time sorted themselves out with whatever investments that were made there, breaking ablutions brick by brick and so on. When you go there, there's nothing, Chairperson. But to speak specifically to the project, which I suspect that the Honorable Molotsane was actually referring to, if she was referring to the project in Dennisville, Refeng Khotso. That project, Chair, was phased over 2 phases. And indeed, much as my colleagues wanted to report that project as complete, because we had not given it much money, just about 7 million, and certain aspects of the facility were completed. And then they were to proceed and do other aspects, including the grassing and installation of the few stands under phase 2 with their own funding, and we gave them a little bit more. And I said, rather than reporting a project as complete on the basis of the phase, because when you report to Parliament, complete means exactly that, complete. Let's rather than quantify in terms of the progress where it is. But like I said, Chair, where there are, of course, inconsistencies in terms of what we report and what members actually see on the ground, we would be happy, Chairperson, to be given that kind of an information and visit those specific projects and come back to the honorable members and give an account. If indeed it was a misinformation, but we should not be shy to confirm and, of course, accept what will then come thereafter. I spoke already, Chairperson, to the issue of the community art centers, which have been raised by honorable members, and how, additional to what Werner said, do we accommodate that? I couldn't agree more, Chairperson, about the causal link or relationship between the existence of a facility and performance of athletes or athletes within a specific community or school. I think Honorable Jacobs made a very excellent example of that. And in any case, Chairperson, by its own definition, sport, as part of the definition, is defined to be a facility-dependent activity. You can't teach kids how to swim in an absence of a swimming pool. And I'm making that example because I know there's a lot of focus on that specific sporting code, particularly in terms of the transformation aspect of it. And where Swimming South Africa argues that we do not have a problem of implementing these programs in rural communities, but it is not our mandate to be building swimming pools in those communities. Once they are there, definitely we will go there. The issue of the evidence that has been encouraged moving forward, the Chairperson, of course, we will ensure that we at the least or at the minimum we provide pictures when we speak about these specific municipalities. Other matters, Chairperson, that were raised by Honorable Jacobs, I think DG has extensively covered the matters of overruns and cost escalations, issues of ensuring quality. But I think I would want to speak a little on this one, Chairperson. That part of the work that we do as a department, and at least in the current financial year, as part of our APP targets or indicators, it is the provision of technical as well as project management support to municipalities as and when they implement these projects. Why must we do that? Because we are the custodians of these norms and standards that are applicable to these projects. So we are best positioned to guide. But the truth of the matter is, it's a point that I also made last time. When you look at the MIG conditional framework, that sets conditions for these specific projects. It also speaks about the role of provincial department, and it's a matter that must also come to us as TSEC and see how do we then seek to address it. Provincial departments, because of their proximity to the municipalities, are enjoined by that MIG conditional framework to provide support, and I'm speaking now about DSEC at the provincial level, our provincial counterparts, to provide support from a planning stage of the project to a closeout of a project. And part of the reason is that when they do planning at the level of the municipality, because provincial department is an implement of the programs, since we're not building these facilities to improve the asset register of municipalities, but to ensure that we create an enabling environment for programs of sports to find expression and to have that supporting environment. Now, the implementers of these programs are provinces, which then means people who are best positioned to guide where these facilities are supposed to be built, because they must be informed by where the footprint of the programs are supposed to be, are the provinces. But they are not doing it, Chairperson. I don't know how many times I've participated in some of the chief directors' meeting and trying to emphasize these things. But not only that, provinces are also expected to build that technical capacity which was referred to in order for them to be able to also ensure that the support is given to these projects is aligned to what is required by the NOMSON standard. They do not have technical people at all. You would find them there, and those who are there, Chairperson, they will tell you that no, our scope ends with the library. And now you end up with a national department with not less than 10 officials, including the chief director, being the ones who are supposed to visit these projects and monitor them. And if you've got a minimum of 60 projects running at any given point, and you're supposed to support them only with 10 people, which means in a quarter you can only visit a project once. But what happens from your last visit to the next visit in a space of 3 months? So much has happened. So it is part of those specific problems that we have. But I still say, Chair, there has to be a way that we can enforce also upon the provincial departments, particularly now that we are giving them a grant in relation to mass participation, a sport development grant, which allows for a certain portion to be redirected to be earmarked for purpose of skilling or recruitment of necessary skills. So since MIG is part of their responsibility, it would then also have to cater for that aspect, that specific percentage meant for recruitment of specific skills. Chair, the issue raised by Honorable Lituli, I had hoped that we have long passed this issue, because it was raised in the 5th, 6th Parliament with municipalities, the user charges. Yes, we acknowledge the argument of the municipality to say we have to charge these people because it's part of our collection for revenue to come back and reinvest those monies towards the maintenance of those specific facilities. But sometimes when one looks, of course, at some of the monies that have been charged there, it's a problem. And I think, Chair, because last week we emphasized the aspect of involvement of the sports councils at the local level as and when these projects are conceptualized and they are planned and implemented. Perhaps in those conversations together with the municipalities and those specific stakeholders, we would then have to look at this specific aspect. Good thing is that, Chairperson, over and above these monies that we are giving to the municipalities from the ring-fenced MIG, they still have a 5% of their baseline MIG that's supposed to be going towards maintenance of sports facilities. And these are the things that we're supposed to be emphasizing on, but also engage with our counterparts at the level of the provincial caucus to say, do not accept a project implementation plan, which is basically a list of all projects that the municipality is going to implement with their baseline MIG. If 5% of that MIG which they are going to receive is not going to be spent on any sports facilities, which means if in the PIP there is no sport facility indicated, a question that must be asked that specific municipalities that where is the 5% of sport? We see you have identified water, sanitation, and so on. The money that you are going to be receiving to implement this project implementation plan included to it is a 5% of sport. So if this plan does not reflect a sport project, where are you going to be taking that 5%? So those are some of the things, Chairperson, that we moving forward could be looking at. The issue raised by Honorable Lituli of the project in the South Coast facility, one unfortunately is not familiar with that, but I've got a reason to believe that it may have not been funded by this MIG ring-fenced, because MIG started only in 1617, but that is not to say we should not be noting it and following it up to try and establish exactly what is the situation, because our obligation, Chairperson, by the way, in terms of visiting the projects, do not only end with these projects that we fund through MIG. Other projects that are funded by municipalities from their own baseline MIG, we still have an obligation, because we remain the custodians of the norms and standards, even for those projects that are supposed to be complied with. The Honorable Nkosi, I suspect that DG may have spoken to the issue of projects that are unregistered, because that is mainly in the domain of COGTA. Likewise with issues of how municipalities can be assisted with procurement. I think it's important on this specific issue raised by Honorable Nkosi to indicate that one of the things we have been trying to encourage the municipalities to do is, once the list is gazetted and there is a confirmation around February, early March, depending, that indeed you are going to be receiving 15 million of the ring-fenced to implement sports project. Do not wait for money to arrive in July and you only start with the process of appointment of the consultants. To want to plan and implement, procure and implement the project within a single financial year is very difficult. But because you already have a confirmation that cannot be withdrawn, since it's gazetted around February, that is the time when you should be starting with the procurement there of service providers, consultants to do designs, which you are going to be participating in terms of review to ensure that there is a compliance with norms and standards. But at times you get reluctance and that lackluster attitude amongst our own municipalities, and to a very large extent would then be disempowered at the time to effect any consequence. We can't say, because you did not do this at this time, we must then advise COGTA to withhold your funding. We get into the financial year, they start with the process, try to encourage them to accelerate with the hope that everything would be finished. But it's one way. We even went to an extent of encouraging them to say, why are you not having a panel ready of contractors, a panel of consultants, so that when you start with this process, you don't start procurement right from the onset, but you just pull from the panel and do whatever process you have to do in the interest of acceleration. Further than that, we even try to promote methods such as design and build, procure just once and a package of a consultant and a contractor, which saves a lot of time. Some do listen to us, Chairperson, I might say, but quite a number of them, they do not. Chairperson, the issues of MIG in schools and so on have been elevated also by Honorable Mtetwa. And I was quite happy when he also elevated the point that sports facilities are part of a concept of integrated sustainable human development, human settlements. They cannot just be treated as a nice to have. They are one of the essential elements of the sustainable human settlements, and therefore resources must continue to be allocated. I spoke to issues of community art centers, Honorable Chair, raised also by Honorable Aris, the 30 CACs. I know there's a process within the department at this point. There is a tender which was issued, and I'm not suggesting that all these 30 ACs would be part of that. Where the department, TSEC now have, together with the provinces, identified certain community art centers that must be prioritized. And of course, provinces have sponsored those that they would want to be prioritized for the very purpose that Honorable Aris has raised of doing a conditions assessment. And obviously that is the very first step to identify what are the conditions of those specific facilities or art centers, what is it that needs to be done, and then moving forward, we then come up with appropriate interventions to ensure that we refurbish, we upgrade for the restorations of those specific things, and ensure that the key elements of occupational health and safety are not compromised, because I assume that some of them may not even be compliant in terms of those specific requirements. So the process has started, and I know that very soon it will be coming before the relevant committees of supply chain for it to be concluded. I have noted the issue that Honorable Aris also have raised in Jobetina, but I think I should indicate that we have allocated that specific municipality, Matlosana, and initially the intention, of course, was to restore that specific facility that is in Jobetina. But upon realization of, because they also have an indoor facility, upon realization of the non-compliance of the that indoor facility meant for sport, non-compliance in terms of our own norms and standards, we felt that we cannot continue to invest money into something, and it did not comply because we were never involved and we did not know about it as a department. We only got to know about it when they asked for money to then restore it and complete it. An alternative project site had to be identified, and we agreed that the municipality will use its own resources to complete on that. Where they are going to implement, because they are still at the design stage, we will then ensure that these designs, when they are completed, they are compliant with our norms and standards. The issues that have been raised by Honorable Molotsane, I think to a large extent, I dealt with them and further requested generally as a request, honorable members, that where certain things are actually picked up as a wastage of the resources and so on, such can still be communicated to the department, and then ourselves as the official will ensure that we do visit those specific facilities and get to establish what are the facts and try to determine the appropriate intervention to restore those facilities to what they're supposed to be. But I should indicate that, honorable members, based on what was also raised by colleagues, by honorable members in the last engagement, we then make a determination as a department to say we cannot just relegate these concerns because no, we implemented projects and they were completed and we are fine and that's it. But fact of the matter is that those facilities are no longer there. Some of them are there, but they have significantly deteriorated. We then said, perhaps it's time that we go back and make an audit as a start of those specific facilities that we have built through this specific ring-fenced allocation to check what are the conditions, and then at some point even come to the committee to present the report. But not only that, but also to see how can we then best ensure that we align with that has been indicated in terms of what the minister has said, of saying we should go back to these facilities that have been built and bring them back to life. I think it's the most appropriate thing to do to ensure that we restore the life of those specific assets. The issue This brings me to the issue that has been raised, and my sincere apology, Honorable Patrick, I missed the surname, but the issue that has been raised with regard to data. We have made an attempt in previous years, Honorable Chair, to conduct a comprehensive facility audit. That does not only look at the number of facilities we have and types of facilities, but also look at the conditions, and of course, both in communities as well as in schools, because that is a critical process we must pursue to ensure that we generate this database and knowing where facilities are. And once that has been done, we are then able to do a spatial analysis and the necessary overlays within the geographic information system, manipulate that data and see gaps within the settlements where facilities do not exist, but also note that exist, which of those are not in good conditions to be utilized. And the entire process ultimately will enable us to first develop an infrastructure or facility, sport facility master plan, which tells us about all the facilities, what are the conditions, what is required in terms of the budget, both in terms of restoring those that are not in good conditions, but also supplying facilities in areas that are not within the catchment ready of those that exist. So it's what we should be looking at. Our attempts did not succeed of the facility audit precisely because of budget constraints. We went to an extent of passing this to the provinces, and I think the only province that did very well as far as producing the facility audit report was KZN, and then in the Western Cape it was only the city of Cape Town that was able to do that to the satisfactory level. As for other provinces, they were just clear that we do not have money for this thing. I think the Honorable Sally also spoke amongst others to that specific issue, and I think some of the issues that she raised were covered by DG. And then lastly, Honorable Mukwela also emphasized the importance of investing in schools, and DG spoke extensively on that specific matter and indicated all the options that are available. I should indicate, honorable members, that with regard to the metros, and I think DG has indicated that you do have an able settlement development grant, which amongst others, when you look at its principles, should also be catering for sports facilities. So what we have done with MIG by engaging Cocta National Treasury for the purpose of ring fencing and allowing us to have a bit of a control, it's exactly what we would also want to pursue with regard to the USDG. There is some engagements that have started with the municipalities to try and have a sense if they are indeed spending some money towards sports infrastructure. And I can confirm to members right now that the feedback was very much disappointing, but it is part of the process and we should be moving with speed because there are other pronouncements, for example, that have been made, and when you look at types of infrastructure that we would have to build, would require us likely to build it in the metros. So in the absence of the funding for sports infrastructure in the metros, we will not be able to do that, and hence the aspect of the USDG has become very important. Chairperson, thank you very much for your indulgence. And
thank you so much, Mr. Mukwera. Before I'm going to ask my co-pilot to set off the Department of Cocta as well as DSEC, I just want to make the following closing remarks before Honorable Fanny is going to do his duties. And I also would like to release Mr. Changan a little bit earlier because I believe you have an in-person meeting with the National Security Council. I just want to wish him well, National Security Council. Hope that things are not becoming physical that side. I want to mention a few things. Honorable Nicole has mentioned unannounced oversight. There was no response to that. I really want, in this regard, a consideration from the side of COCTA as well as DSEC to communicate a letter to these entities. There is just no way that we cannot be allowed, even if it's unannounced. We have been induction. We have had induction during the opening of Parliament, and that is nonsense. We cannot be chased away. We don't want fresh air and nice foods and nice things to be done. We want an unannounced visit where people do not expect us. There's also an issue raised by Honorable Duplessis pertaining to politicize these projects. I would like to advise that the Honorable Nicole, request affidavits in this regard, and so that we can take this up. There was an issue raised on the evidence of pictures by Honorable Liam. That is indeed important, and some of those places, and even now recently the one of Joburton, we are going there to see for ourselves. And perhaps Honorable Jacobs, if you can submit to both the Select Committee as well as the Sports, Arts and Culture names, designations of where the particular water leaks is. I do not get enough satisfaction on the issue of how accountability, to improve accountability, how the department will deal with that. There's an issue raised by Honorable Tuli that really, take my heart away, and that is the issue of a 15 years sport grounds that is empty, let alone the fees. We have now been told that MIG funds have been granted. There are even funds been given for refurbishment and maintenance. And I understand that municipalities have to ask, a fee, but sometimes these fees are very high, and soccer clubs cannot afford that. I could not get a clarity on Honorable Nkosi's question or answer pertaining to the projects not registered, but we'll hope we will deal with that again in future or even on an ad hoc basis. I would like to advise also that Honorable Ari submit to both the Select Committee as well as the Sport, Arts and Culture a list of those centers in order to empower us when we engage in our oversight to deal with these issues. There was Honorable Mkunu have requested also the improvement of maintenance, and I could not get a satisfaction answer on the consequence management. The issue raised by Honorable, I think, Patrick Sibande on the open field, thanks for that explanation, but it is a matter that we should really take up with the necessary attention. Honorable Malesela Makwela has also speak to the passing of the buck. Now, I have personally experienced this. When you go on oversight, people say, no, this is not us, it is province. You go to province say, no, this is not us, it is national. But that has also been explained in our meeting last week. I want to say thank you for that. But it's also a very serious issue that we have to address. From my side, as the chairperson for the sport, I would like to say to Mr. Changan, thank you so much, the Department Sports, Arts and Culture. We appreciate your attendance in this meeting, the informative views, and also the responses to questions. I'm now directly going to give over to my co-pilot, Honorable Fanny, to set you off only the session of the meeting between DSEC, the Select Committee, the Sports, Arts and Portfolio Committee, as well as the COCTA. Only that part, members of Department Sports, Arts and Culture, I would like them to remain present, because we still have to deal with, I think, some minutes, and also the consideration and adoption of the names for the advisory panel of the National Council for Library and Information Services. Thank you, Mr. Honorable Fanny, over to you.
Thank you very much, Chair, and also thanks to the DG and the team that have managed to capture some of the issues that we were not comfortably indeed when we received some of the responses. At least now, I believe the members are on the equilibrium in terms of the information, with what has been presented to us, Chair. I think all of us, we appreciate that. As we have already alluded that now, we'll proceed. I will be leading me in terms of the flying of the items on the agenda, because I'm not that equipped in this instance just to outline the items.
Honorable Fanny, I think we've lost you at some moment. We are aware of your challenges, but you may proceed.
Yes, I was requesting that whomever that is assisting us in terms of flighting the items, he can just, so that we can see where we are in terms of the agenda. I don't want to take it for granted that everyone is in the equal level.
Can we flight the agenda?
I'm not sure if it's visible, Chair. I've just lighted it.
It is.
Yes, it's visible.
Okay, Honorable Fanny, if I can just
Yes.
give information
Okay,
here. There are other items for consideration for the portfolio. So we've dealt with the select committee, the combined meeting, and with COCTA. So, and the other thing is we have flight this, and also I have taken also cognizance of the fact that you have challenges. That's why I'm asking you now to close the session, or that we are supposed to have between 8 o'clock and 10:45.
Yes. No. Okay.
Perhaps, Honorable Fanny, if you can stop your video, maybe we will be able to hear you. If you can just close your video.
Okay.
Please try again, Honorable Fanny. I think, yeah,
yes,
we can hear you now. That's better.
Yeah, okay. Let me be quick, Chair. That let me just thank everyone who have managed to make it for our meeting. Remember, the meeting was adjourned, was specifically just to deal with the detail of what has been presented to us. So and also the members that managed to make time, and also thanks the DG once again. I know DG, we were together in human settlement. You capacitated me a lot when you were in this human settlement. Some of the issues that you left there are still, a challenge at the level of local government. So I think you will do more work in ensuring that you capacitate those that are following, because it's very important that we have the front line that is capable. Otherwise we can sit here and then theorize, no implementation. So I just wanted to thank that. Without any further ado, Chair, let me just adjourn the meeting. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Honorable Fanny. Members of the Sports, Arts and Culture, please stay on. Disek, you are also welcome if you would like to leave, as well as Kokta. Once again, from both the Select Committee and the Sports, Arts and Culture, thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Chair.
Honorable members, I'm going to have a 5-minute break, and we will proceed in 5 minutes.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Honorable members, I did not keep record, but I gathered the 5 minutes is expired. We are going to proceed with our meeting, and I would like us to deal with the consideration and adoption of the names of the advisory panel for the National Council for Library and Information Services. As you are all aware that last year, the minister has given names which consist most of the members of DSEC. We have an out of courtesy and a procedure amongst us, we've decided to go back to our political parties. We also want the inclusive names, as the Act is actually required that we must have, a broader consultation with the Department of Basic Education, the Department, various other departments. And the minister has written back to us in a fashion where, one could observe that he has made quite a few changes that consisted a number of the other departments as per the requirements of the Act. I am now going to call upon members of respective political parties to perhaps give an input. We are all aware that we have a caucus meeting yesterday. We have, for the second time, put it aside and request that members should please consult with their caucuses. That I would take for advantage. It happened yesterday. I would now call upon members to randomly speak as they wish on the decision as to whether the names are accepted. I'm going to give an opportunity to Honorable Liam Jacobs and then Honorable Balinkulu, the Chief Whip of the ANCFC, is not here. Anyone else may take the lead. Honorable Sali, Honorable Daniels, Honorable Gugu Mkunu, and then we have Honorable Tetwa. And did I miss someone? I think that for now it's all. If I miss you, please feel free to make the comment and suggestion so that we, in terms of the procedure as a committee, once with the committee, the Act requires that the committee must accept these names. The minister may proceed. This panel, or rather advisors, will then deal with the interviews. I think if the content manager can assist me in this regard, they will then give names to the minister, of which the minister will choose some of that names in terms of the Act. Anything else I would require now, before I'm going to give members an opportunity, that the content advisor give us a crisp overview on the matter at the end. Fiona?
Thank you so much, Chairperson. Yes, just to reiterate what you have already spoken to, Chairperson. So the advisory panel, which is what the committee needs to decide on today, is the panel that will go through the nominations that were received from the public. And they will, from those nominations, put together a short list of no more than 15 candidates to serve on the council for the NCLIS. The council has a very important mandate, and its strategic concerns are to raise government and public awareness of LIS matters, encourage synergy amongst stakeholders and strategic partners, address legislative deficiencies, improve funding, and provide education, training, and skills development of LIS human resources. So, Chairperson, this council, the term ended for the last council, the term ended in June, let me just get this right, June 2023. But it was extended for a year up to the end of June 2024, and then thereafter the minister did the legislatively correct procedure to put out a call for nominations. That happened in April 2024. The closing date was at the end of April 2024. And since then, there has been no council. So the council that was supposed to be selected from the call for nominations, they were supposed to have served from the 1st of July 2024 to the end of June 2027. So this advisory panel is doing the work of going through all the nominations and then shortlisting a short list of no more than 15 candidates to be considered to serve on the council. I think that sums it up. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you so much. May the members indicate in that sequence that I've mentioned?
Okay, thank you very much, Chairperson. Look, from our side, it's an acknowledgement that there is a deep lack of, skills in this particular area within South Africa. It's a fast diminishing field of good, strong people who have expertise in the field. And therefore, Chairperson, we support the names that are being presented here. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honourable Jacobs.
Thank you, Honourable Chair. We would support the names. I just want to raise one concern. In the previous situation where the minister indicated a lack of certain individuals, I'm just worried that do we have enough representation across the board with regard to the nominations that is before us? Personally, and from our party, we don't have a problem with the names nominated, but I just want us to be cognizant of that factor which has been raised before. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, honourable members, I don't want to open it up for debate because we do receive the CVs the minister sent, and we have a look through the CVs, and it was this committee who sent it back to the minister for inclusivity, and I think that is what we have to have done as parties to see to the inclusivity side. But thanks for that, Honourable Sali. Who's next? Honourable, I don't think, I'm not sure whether Honourable Balinkulu on.
Chairperson,
Honourable Nkosi. Who's that?
I was saying, Chair, Mamu Bilangulu submitted an apology for the meeting.
Oh, my apologies. Honourable Nkosi or Malatsane, would you perhaps take the lead in this regard? Or Khabo?
Chairperson Khabo will lead us on this one.
Okay. Honourable Khabo, you're welcome to address us. Is Honourable Khabo on this platform? Please unmute.
Good day, Chair. I'm not seeing him, Chair. I think we've lost him. Yeah, but because he was in the meeting. But I don't see him now, Chair.
Honourable Malatsane?
Thank you, Honourable Chair. We will support the names, Chairperson. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Kunu. I'm having it right this time around. Honourable Kunu, Honourable Mbele, Honourable Penny. Did I leave someone out? Honourable, I am aware that Honourable Daniels is also just today on this meeting. But you're welcome if you want to address us. If not, don't feel forced to do so. Honourable Tetwa.
And member Tatunko Silutuli, Chair, is also at the platform.
Oh, Honourable Tetwa.
Thank you, Chair. Now I will accept the list, considering that it is just a panel to shortlist. My little bit of a concern that I picked up is that one of the candidates make Vusindima as his reference. So I don't know whether that does have any consequence in terms of their connectivity.
Yeah, I think what for me important is, like I said, I don't want to open it for a debate, is the issue of the skills, the experience in this particular field. If you go into all the CVs, one would assess, whether it is there or not. And what I like of all these nominations is that it also speaks to the various wide audience when it comes to inclusivity, that will have an automatic potential that we have an inclusive council. That is, for me, what is really good about this. And I can say the meeting that we had with the minister, the informal discussions, it bear fruits, honorable members, so that we're not rewinding the wheel every time. Honorable.
No. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks. Honorable Mtuli? Oh, no, is Honorable Khabo.
Lutuli, Chair. Oh.
Honorable Khabo is back. You see, let me just state this, honorable members. I'm doing it per member of a political party because we had our caucuses. But seeing that Honorable Khabo had these challenges with his gadget, I will give him a chance, even though we have heard that the ANC support the names, the DA support the names, EFF support the names, MK is not on. So we have to proceed today. We have to finalize today. And I know how members are. Members feel that we cannot leave gaps so that things go on. We cannot leave people, one-handed in a particular structure. It can be to a very disadvantage for the organization. So we almost had all the parties. Honorable Saleh has spoken. I think we almost have all the parties, but if a member really would like to say again something, let's deal with it. We still have time, and then we can deal with the minutes of the 4th of February. Members,
Chair?
Going once.
Chair?
Honorable Khabo.
Yes. Look, not that I have a problem with approval of the names, but I think you are aware that I've sent an email to Ajabulile requesting clarity in terms of the process. In relation to the stated piece of legislation that guides the approval or the consolidation of the advisory panel. I just needed clarity on that part, Chair. I seem to be probably having little understanding on that matter in terms of how does the names get to be presented before the portfolio. Does the name come from the minister for it to be presented before us? Or is it the committee that is able to look into the number or the raw list and ultimately agree? Can I get clarity in terms of how does the process unfold, particularly the one between the application after the nominations were sent out, including the one that involves the role of the committee in the process and the minister? Can I just get clarity on that one, Chair? Because I believe that the response that I've got, to me, probably is because of lack of understanding of the legal jargon.
No, thank you so much, Honorable Khabo. And let me explain. Also, I know that due to your deployment to various other committees, the process, the Act requires the minister to give names for the committee for consideration. And the beauty part of the Act is it also gives direction from where that name should come. It should come from DSEC. It should come from Department Basic Education. It should come from Department of Education, and it should also come from universities. It must have a wide perspective of people having that expertise in this particular field that will advise the minister. Now, this panel will advise the minister pertaining to a short list of 15 names to give advice not only to the minister, but also to the Department of Basic Education and to the Department of the various departments that I've mentioned now. Then the minister have sent last year to this committee names, and those names, 5 out of the 6 names was only individuals of Department Sports, Arts and Culture. So we as a committee send the names back and say to the minister, we need inclusivity in this. There are a lack of names when it comes to the Department of Basic Education, when it comes to the universities, to the Department of DSEC. So we went through all those names. Members went through all those names. We interrogate and we look at the CVs, and the Act make it very clear they must have the skills in that particular area. All that they're going to do is to shortlist. Our fear was, and let me put it straight, our fear was if you have all DSEC members as a panel, one could imagine the potential is there to have a particular shortlisting of particular applicants. But now we have all those areas. The university, some University of Limpopo, University of wherever, I can't remember, I went through it quite a while. And then we have even people within the education, people within that department. So they are all forming part of this panel with that expertise, with sound credentials in that particular area. So for me in person, I'm speaking on behalf of, this is my personal view, having those people in that advisory committee or panel is inclusive. It will also have a very strong potential to, when they deal with applicants, those names will be inclusive of nature. If I miss something, I really want Fiona to add. Fiona?
Chair, probably before Fiona can come in, apologies. Can we get clarity? In one of the emails that we have received, we got a list of names and we were told that it's nominated by the minister. And in your response, you are saying that it is the department that must provide those names. Can
no, the
she
minister.
also?
The minister. Fiona, can you come in? The minister, in terms of the Act, take that 5 names, but the Act requires how. It also gives direction how. Now, the first names by the minister was only DSEC representatives. And we said, no, the Act says it must be this department, that department, that department. So that is widespread if you look at the names now. I am a little bit cautioned to have this as a discussion again, but I'm happy that we give clarity. Fiona, can you just add on what I've said?
Thank you, Chairperson. Yes, and just to also note that it wasn't the current minister who forwarded the original list. It was the previous Minister of Sport, Arts and Culture. And the Act does say that the minister must appoint a panel, which is the advisory panel that the committee is dealing with today, after the composition was approved by the portfolio committee. So that's I think that's about it that I can add to what you have already said, Chairperson. Thank you.
Yeah, I just missed Honorable Khabo to say the former minister, but I don't like to say that because he's the current ministry. Like I've always said in our meetings, we have owned all of this lock, stock and barrel. So it came, as rightfully said, from a process from the previous parliament. But we have a legacy report and we must proceed and go on with it. Thanks, Honorable Khabo.
Through you, Chair. Through you, Chair.
Proceed.
I think the concern of Honorable Khabo is probably the issue of a white list that was provided, and then from that white list, the shortlisted names that we have now in front of us. That process, yes, was done. I was part of that committee that did that process. So it was done correctly. The only problem was that the former minister brought in people who were solely from the Department of Sports and Arts and Culture without inclusion of the ones from basic education, higher education, universities. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you for that clarity, Honorable.
Chair, I'm clarified. Thank you very much. Apologies for dragging the meeting.
No, we cannot take decisions if a member is uncertain, and we will not blame anyone, and we understand the deployment of members to other political parties, and this is needed to have clarity in this particular case. Any other member having anything to say? Can we resolute that the committee accept the names by the minister? We are not saying the previous minister, by the minister, so that Minister Gayton McKenzie can proceed and do the necessary arrangements in order for the panel to give the name, so that we can have, in an issue of great concern, a collective that will take, and in this particular case, the advisory panel will not only take give advice to the ministry in DSEC, but also higher education and also to the Department of Basic Education. This is the very fortunate part, and for that reason that we wanted an inclusive name. Shall we request the PC to formulate the decision by the portfolio committee on the acceptance of an approval of the names and in terms of the act? Thank you, honorable members. We are now going to deal with the minutes. I would take it for granted that members have gone through the minutes. I will thus request the PC secretary to please flight the minutes page by page so that we can proceed. Also, thank you for the gesture in dealing with this as soon as possible in terms of party proceed.
Sorry, Chair. Can we move, Chair, for the adoption of the consideration and the adoption of the NCLIS advisory panel, Chair? I see Mr. Mcheto has his hand up, Chair, so that we can adopt it formally, Chair.
Okay, I wanted to make it a formal resolution, but it's fine. Can we have a proposal and a seconder?
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Chair. I had my hand up because I thought we have to propose the adoption of the shortlisted names. And that's what I stand for now as Eugene Mtetwa, a member of Portfolio Committee. I propose the adoption of the shortlisted names.
Thank you so much, Honorable Mtetwa. Is there any seconder? Please unmute. And don't be shy to second, especially if you have approved it.
Thank you, Chair.
Hello, Tuli.
Let me second it.
Thanks, of course.
Sorry, Chair.
Yes.
Excuse me, Chair. Tatulu Tuli is an alternate member, Chair.
Oh.
And, yes, thank you, Chair.
Alternate in this?
Yes.
Chair, I will support the proposed names.
Thank you, Honorable Moletane. Members, can we then move to the minutes? Take us through the minutes. Please make sure that your name is on the list. May I just ask before we proceed, the select committee, are they going to deal with this differently on their side, or what is the procedure in this regard?
We've shared the minutes with them, Chair. They could have been in the meeting to adopt the minutes with us, but we've shared the same minutes with them, Chair, already.
But here my problem, if they're not in this meeting, how do we approve a minutes without their presence, and it was a combined meeting? Little bit technical, and we already asked them to leave.
We can set them aside, Chair, and we can just have a session with them should the committee want to adopt the minutes with them.
Yeah,
maybe,
I think procedurally that will be right.
Yes, Chair.
My apologies, it's my mistake only that I see and sense it now. But please, if possible, have that discussion with Honorable Fanny, that we omitted, to have them still on board to deal with the minutes. And that's it. But I don't think it will be a lot, and I don't think they will have a problem simultaneously so. And then perhaps we can just add the other minutes of today and have them on board with a one session.
Noted, Chair.
Okay, is that in order? Just slide the, I think we're done. Just slide the agenda again. That brings us to closure. Honorable members, I must admit that this meeting with COPTA and the Select Committee was really very, very informative. And yes, maybe we as a committee should have considered when we started the 7th Parliament, having them on board. And I can tell you with the issues that actually came up, would have actually forced us to deal with matters as the Director DG Changan have mentioned. But I think we should also flag the issues that he has raised pertaining to call in the Department of Basic Education, because we cannot have the Department of Basic Education off the hook when it comes to this issue, especially with the inputs that has been made by the members pertaining to schools and school sports and school sports facilities. DBE, alongside with the memorandum of understanding between sport, arts and culture, we cannot have them let off the hook. That is one thing that I think, Portfolio Secretary, that we have to flag. The second one was the recommendation by Mr. Changan that we also call in human settlements. There's a lot of issues that they also have to account with. So we do have to do this kind of cross-pollination to address this issue. A very important matter that he also mentioned that you must consider call in the Treasury on how these allocations has been made and prioritized in terms of whichever grant it may be. So there is a need to call in National Treasury to understand the process of these grants, various grants to these various areas. And also today, I again realized the importance, the very importance and the very important nature of this portfolio. You know, we have been parked in the backyards. It's just sports, arts and culture. It is sports, arts and culture that actually brought people together, bring synergy, happiness. If you look at the happy index of South Africa, it is sport. And I must say, I appreciate members, every single member in this committee, including the members of the Select Committee, the way and the manner they have elaborate and engage. And what was really, really impressive, engaging with matters pertaining to their provinces. That was really a good thing to see and to hear from members. So let us not give up when it comes to that word, sports and arts and culture. We are an important portfolio committee, a very, very important portfolio committee. If you have now carefully listened, and I'm going to make it my plan to say I want to go and listen to these 2 meetings. It is very informative, very important meetings that has highlight the amount of work that we have as a committee alongside 70 odd federations and 28 entities. There's a huge chunk of work cut out for us, and even taking into consideration members that is belonging to other portfolio committees as well. So that is my closure remarks. And I want to say again to every single member that we must not give up. I also want us to deal, PC Secretary, with the issues, and I must admit there's a little bit of a misunderstanding on the issues of the minority parties and their presence on the committee, and maybe if we consider ask a declarative from the chair of chairs on the formula and how does it works, because I am aware that members are serving on various committees. On some they are permanent members, and on some not. So we have to find out on how many portfolio committees may a member be a permanent member or not, so that we can give clarity to Nkosi Ntuli and also to Honorable Daniels in this regard, so that we can understand how the system works. With that said, honorable members, if there's no any other issue any member would like to raise, I see a hand, Honorable Eugene Mtetwa. Is that a new hand, a legacy hand?
It's a new hand, Chair.
Please feel welcome to proceed.
I think you have captured the observations quite correctly, but I want to further bring to the attention of the committee, taking into cognizance that our responsibility is not only to hold government to account as if we are principals of schools, but another responsibility is to better the statutory environment and framework that we are operating within as government, collectively as government, for better service delivery. And having said that, one of the things that came into my mind is when I think the DG from COGTA succinctly explained further things, gave us more clarity on some of the issues that we didn't have much information on. The issue of consequence management and accountability. He apportioned that to municipalities as the first level of accountability. Second to that, he said then Treasury can, which then changes he spoke to the conversion of sections 5B to section 6B, which then gives the department or COGTA or DSEC the responsibility to implement a particular project where there is challenge in the municipalities. But my proposal is that we need to collectively, with all the departments, because you know the challenge with our sector is we find some of the issues residing in different departments, which makes it so hard that when we call people to account, we end up having to call another department. I think what we should look at moving forward is a quarterly meeting with all the parties that are involved in when we talk of infrastructure development. We then can have that as a monitoring and evaluation process that we will take into account. Have a flow chart that says, if, for instance, a project is introduced, according to the MIG, it must be the community that identifies a need. And then once there's an identification, then we must have a list of all those identified projects to look into, and not just allow the department to take its own decision or municipality to take decisions without us being party to such, so that we are able to have that list to even follow on the progress and not be caught up at the tail end where we say, no, this project has been for 10 years and it has not been delivered. I think it will help us a lot if we can have that sort of a min-max setup of our own, where we have those meetings, quarterly meetings with all the parties involved in any project that we have listed. And secondly, I think we should appreciate the policy or approach by EFF that says state capacitation, which will create jobs for many. If you notice, the challenge with the delivery of projects and services, you will find that the department has allocated a budget to municipality. The municipality, before it starts the project, it has to appoint consulting companies. But if we have our own engineers within the government, technicians, we have consultants within government, it will help to keep this thing of passing the buck from one, just like we had the situation with Sarah Bartman situation. A consultant person has been there for years, but companies have been changed. Construction companies have been changed from one to another, and the last one had to now even dealing away with the constructed work to start again fresh, because the consultant is only concerned about the money that he's earning. The longer process it takes to deliver, he gains. But if we have our own, it will help even in creation of jobs within government. So those are my two proposals that I think we should look into and make recommendations in terms of our participation in bettering our government. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Honorable Mteta. Is there any other member that would like to say something? And secretaries also just take note of the concern on the BRRR recommendations that we have made in order for us to get that document to empower us on our oversight role. Any other member, please feel free. I've given an opportunity to Honorable Mtetwa. Feel free. Unless if there isn't, I would now declare going once, going twice. Is there a hand?
No, Chair, there's no hand up.
There's no hand. Members, this meeting stands adjourned. Please enjoy your weekend, enjoy your oversight. There are two developments that is happening over this 2 weeks. It is an oversight, an invitation by the Minister on the boxing, South Africa, and then also our oversight. Looking forward to see the honorable members as well as the professional staff on these both, should I say, oversights that is happening in East London as well as in the Northwest. Members, with that said, enjoy the weekend and enjoy the time with your family and the time with your party political work. Thank you so much. The meeting is adjourned.
Thank you, Chair. Bye, everybody.
Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Chairperson.